All right, here we go. We are there. We are live. Let me make sure everything's working properly. Everything's here to be working properly. Oop. God damn. All right, we got some double loop feedback over here. There we go. Oop, hold on. Gotta get my eh. Hold on. Apologies. Give me half a second. I forgot to hook my headphones up. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Okay, all right, we're back. There we go. Headphones and everything should be all worked up now. My lord. All right, yeah. So welcome everybody to episode 1 of the Nugget Mafia. Very excited to do this. This is actually a same thing that I did with the retelling of the old dwarf series. You know, when I had the Kenshi Rise of the Dwarves, and now I'm doing the retelling of that in the form of Kenshi Return of the Dwarves. Now I'm doing Kenshi Rise the new Nugget Mafia because I a long time ago did a series that was Kenshi the Nugget Mafia, and I ended up getting 2 or 3 episodes into it, and then I had some stuff come up, and I wasn't able to finish it. So now we're going to finish it out in the form of the stream. So welcome to Kenshi, the new Nugget Mafia. We're going to get started. Now I have a mod that I downloaded for this. It's a brand new start. It is Kenshi. Oops, sorry about the stream bot. It's a little. I have to tone it down with what it handles. Apologies. Um, it is automatic. Ignore the stream outline on that one. I'm so sorry. Anyway, the mod that I downloaded is it's a nugget start. So you start out with one character with no limbs, right? No arms, no legs. Specifically, though, you start out in Mongrel, so in the Fog Islands. And I did so for a couple of reasons. One, it is a fantastic place to start out because it gives us the opportunity to farm some resources if we do it very, very carefully and get some credits, get some cats. But also, it lets us recruit our first little cinnamon bun, who's going to act as the primary assistant for our Don, being Beep. So Beep will be our legs. He'll be our right hand man. So, with all of that being said, let's begin. Again, apologies for the stream elements bot. I'm still finicking with like the auto mod and all that stuff. It may call people out for random things. I did a lot of overhauling since the last stream, where I got a couple of bots set up. I changed like the donations and all that stuff, little images that pop up and all that jive. So you might the bot might yell at you for random things. I do apologize. All right, so first things first, we got to make our main man. All right, our main nugget boy. Obviously his name's gonna be Don Tony McChicken because we're doing this in honor of um our last playthrough, our last Nugget Mafia video. So we have Don Tony McChicken. We got to make him look like a real slimy man. Real slimy man. I'm gonna give him like a nice. I think I'm gonna lean away from the bushy beard thing. I think I'm gonna lean away from it. I think instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get. Oh, we can give him a pointy stick. We'll keep that in mind. I had a lot of beard options here. I have tons of beard mods on from my oh, this is kind of griftery. Kind of griftery. Why is my camera so wild? All right. Well, anyway, um yeah, I like the Alex beard. It's kind of griftery. All right, so we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna give him like a slick back, real slick back. Ooh, that's good. Slick back on the top. Wow, it is wild what is happening with my camera right now. Okay. Give him some nice slick back hair. I want to give him something maybe short on the sides and slick back would be good. Let's see what we've got. Okay, all right. We got kind of like a pompadour thing. Kind of a pompadour going on. That's not gonna work. Yeah, my camera's being wild on this character creator right now. Um, all messages. There we go. That one ain't bad. That one ain't bad. Keep that in mind. Taro hair, that ain't bad. I have so many mods on to make characters look different, just because I like variety in my characters. You know, I want them to have a nice. I want them to look different. I am not a fan of a lot of these later ones. Let's go back to earlier. See what else we've got. There's one in particular that I think would look really good, but I may have passed it already. I thought I didn't, but I may have. It's like it's short on the sides, but then it's slicked back, and I think it would just work here. Not that one. It's where you at? Come on. No, it's not. Where is it? All right. Well, I can't seem to find it, so we're gonna sift on through, find something that looks just sleazy enough for Don Tony McChicken. That I mean, the slick back could work, but it doesn't really match the beard. I think that'll do. Yeah, that'll do. All right, we're gonna change the face up a little bit, give him that nice sophisticated look. By sophisticated, I mean a little scary. Moonwash spray ain't gonna work. Scratches. Guard, that's kind of good. That's kind of good. A little bit of scratches. He's clearly got some stuff going on. Clearly got some stuff going on with him. He's been through it, you know. All right, so then we'll just alter his mouth a little bit, make it a little smaller, and we're gonna give him a nice thick neck. I mean, this man's he's got no arms and legs. He's used to using his neck for moving around, especially early on. I'm not gonna mess with too much of his. Oh, there we go. Camera seems to have fixed itself. I'm not gonna mess with too much of his body shape too much currently, because we don't really know like what I haven't done anything um on this mod before. I don't know what the starting stats look like. I don't think they're too busted or anything, because like he doesn't have much muscle definition. I mean he's not great. As far as I know, we're gonna start out with one and everything. I'm pretty sure it's just a wanderer start with no arms and no legs, and you start in the Fog Islands. So we shouldn't have too much stuff, but again, I don't know because I haven't done it all. So I'm just gonna move his neck back. 45 is my safe zone for that, and then I'm gonna fix his posture because he's sitting at a 20, so his stomach's kind of jutted out of it. And then I think other than that, I'm just gonna leave him with the base stuff. I don't really know what he looks like beyond that. Maybe lift his shoulders up a bit. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's good. Don Tony McChicken, head of the Nugget Mafia. You have been given new life. I'm going to darken him up a little bit, and then give him a little bit of a tan. And then because he's the Don, he's got to have black hair. We're gonna, or you know, darker hair. So I'm gonna decrease saturation, and I'm gonna give him nice dark hair. Yeah, he is Don Tony McChicken. He's the main man. He's a made man. All right, here he is, Fog Islands. Yeah, so we got one in everything. One in everything. All right, yeah. So the first thing we need to do is we got to find Beep. We gotta find our man Beep, mostly because he's going to be our legs early on. I'm only going to be recruiting individuals that have no limbs, and if they have limbs when I recruit them, I'm going to immediately find a way to remove their limbs. This is a mafia of only cybernetic people with no limbs, so we're gonna have to figure that out. As time goes on, I may end up having to institute a peeler rule, but I'm not quite sure. But early on, we're going to use Beep as our legs. My justification for that being that Beep will lose his limbs soon enough. And we happen to be in a great spot for that, being the Fog Islands. He will almost definitely lose his legs. Now, the other thing I wanted to do in this playthrough is we have to have a main objective, right? I tend to like having main objectives in my playthroughs. So the main objective here is we're going to create a mafia of you know, cybernetically enhanced chicken nuggets under Don Tony McChicken here. And I want to run a lucrative hashish operation. So we're gonna be you know, creating a drug running operation in Kenshi, creating hashish and selling it under the table. We're also going to be stealing, okay, racketeering, you know, all of that stuff. And then we need a front operation. We need some kind of an operation to act as the money laundering scheme to make all of our cats legal, right? We can't just be running around with all of this illegally acquired cats. from these drug runs. So to make our operation legal, we're going to be running a food business. So I need to we need to build farms, have food production going, and then we're going to be using that as a front to cover for our drug operations. So we have a lot of good stuff going on. I need to recruit Beep, but first that requires me getting to him. But he's a fast man compared to me. So I'm gonna waddle my way over there. Okay, I'm just a little caterpillar. Yes, riveting stuff right here. Riveting stuff. I need to fix my shader. My UI mask is off. There we go. All right, Beep. Hello, Beep. All right, move on through. And we now have Beep. So Beep is going to act as our legs. He's going to be our right-hand man. And to prepare for this, I actually decided to do a little bit of research to make sure that I had all of the hierarchy for our Mafia run. So in order to prepare for this, I bring to you the FBI's Mafia organization chart. Okay? And this is based off the New York Mafia. So at the top, we have our undisputed boss, our Don. Okay, that is Don Tony McChicken. Underneath that, we have the underboss. We have not established who the underboss is yet. We will end up getting there, but we haven't decided yet. And then in between the two of them, the right-hand man, the trusted ally, the friend, the confidant, is the consigliere. Okay, this is the counselor, the advisor to the boss. That's Beep. That is what Beep is. Okay, so Beep's got his rank amongst the crowd here. So. We're going to have Beep run around for a little while. We got to train up some strength. In order to do that, he's going to be carrying Don Tony McChicken. We're also going to take the opportunities to training strength. I'm going to have him run over here where I have a mod that expands on the Fogman. One of the things that it expands on is now all Fogmen, not just Fog Princes, drop heads. And all of these heads sell for some kind of money. So, we're going to use this to build up all of the initial cash flow that we need to get our operations started. Hello to everybody who just joined. I know that I appreciate anybody that joins. I don't imagine this is going to be a huge stream compared to what we usually have. You know, we usually are hovering around between like 50 and 80 people. We are getting pretty close to the holidays, so I don't imagine it's going to be a particularly like huge stream for us. So I do appreciate anybody and everybody that jumps in, especially since it was so last minute. Yeah, real last minute stream. All right. I have Beep run around carrying Don Tony McChicken. Got to build up a little bit of strength. My goal is to get 10,000 cats. So that way we can go up into the Shinobi Thieves Tower and use them. You know, we need to have our allies in the form of the Shinobi Thieves for the purposes of, you know, having a place to sell stolen goods and always. Oh hell yeah, hell yeah! We got a lot of Fogmen out here that we can remove the domes from. So this is going to be our early source of revenue while Beep is building stats. And then eventually we'll go out and we'll start hunting Fogmen ourselves. But early on, we're gonna need to do this to get money. It's going to be a very more slow than I think our Dwarves playthrough was. Our Dwarves playthrough, I think, started out pretty quick. This one's not going to be so much. The first things first, though, we need to get A, Shinobi Thieves, and B, we need to get limbs for Don Tony McChicken. Those are our priorities. So we're just gonna be selling off heads. Hell yeah. And we're gonna be selling off as much stuff as we can. And then, like I said, we're gonna be running a hashish operation as well, and a lucrative food store to launder that money. Make sure we're laundering that money. Connection's holding firm, which is awesome. I just got a new Ethernet cable, so I'm beyond excited to be able to have a nice, solid, and stable stream again. My last Ethernet cable went kaput in the middle of me trying to stream. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to stream over Wi-Fi. Don't. Not great. Not a good time. Like the opposite of a good time, actually. So that was awesome. But we're back. Cable came early too. I wasn't supposed to have it until Christmas Eve. I was supposed to get it tomorrow, so I had to cancel all of my planned streams for prior to the holidays. So I was beyond excited when it showed up today, a day early. So I was able to at least recover this stream. So I only missed one instead of two. Very exciting. All right, selling heads. We're building up strength, and then once we do all that, Oh, Dux, how you doing? Happy to have you here. Been watching your Kenshi stuff a lot. A lot of your stuff on Kenshi. Obviously, I've been playing a ton. Nice to the live stream. Yeah, dude, I'm happy to have you here. I'm happy to have you here. As always. For any channel members in the live chat right now, or anybody who's interested, there is also I recently dropped a channel member exclusive Discord. Um, Links over on the membership page, and that goes for people who have been gifted memberships as well. If you've been gifted a membership, even if only for a month, you can get access to the Discord. You will have it for the duration of your membership, so you'll have it for if you have a month gifted month, then you can get access to the Discord for a month. It's a good opportunity to both chat with me privately, meet with the community, all that kind of stuff. I share sneak peeks of my videos before I post them on YouTube, so you get all that stuff. And then in addition to that, there are several other content creators that you guys may be familiar with, like Muffin Top and Paytastrophia, that are in there. And they, it's a good way to kind of chat with them and get to talk to other creators and all that stuff. So we have a good time. I just launched it the other day. We got a few people in there, but anybody that is currently a channel member, gifted or not, you have access to that Discord. And then anybody who may, in fact, be interested in becoming a channel member, it is $2.99 a month. You get quite a few goodies with it. So, access to the Discord, badge in chat, shout out at the beginning of all my long form content, access to me and several other creators in the Discord, as well as sneak peeks, previews, all that stuff. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. And giveaways. I do giveaways in the Discord. I have one planned for just after the holidays. I'm going to be giving away 2 codes to get into Soul for early access for the Game by Digital Extremes Soul Frame. So I'm giving away 2 codes to 2 of my channel members in the Discord. So, but I'm not going to harp on that too much. I was advertised too much, but it is there in case anyone's interested. The long process of building up Beep's strength. A long, long process, but has to be done. How much strength does he go up actually as we're I'm gonna do a quick test here. So strength right now, it's at 69%. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 75. So slow. It goes up slowly. It goes up, but it goes up slowly. I suppose if I get more weight on me, then it will go up faster. Let's see how much limbs are. I think they only sell like standard and high quality, standard limbs and up. They don't have any like shoddy limbs here. I may be wrong on that, but I need to double check because if I can get them some shoddy like economy legs, it would be at least a start. Yeah, no, they only have the good stuff here. Standard is we'll be lucky if we can get standard. It looks like almost everything is high, so we're gonna need at least 10 or 12,000. That's okay. Yeah, man, the struggles are part of the fun. That's why I've done a couple of like let's play videos for Kenshi in the past. Obviously, I did my Rise of the Dwarves and I did my 2 episodes of the Nugget Mafia. That my 2 current live stream series are based off of. But it does cut out a lot of the struggle, And I find that Kenshi is one of those games where like it's just perfect when it's being live streamed, simply for that fact, right? Like simply for the fact that you can see all of the struggle, all the pain, all the headache. You can see all of it. We gotta get that athletics up too. On the upside, Beep has a 1.25 multiplier for athletics, so he should be able to. We need to get a fog heavy over here. Is what we need, because if we get a fog heavy over here, those heads sell for 1,200 a piece, and if we can get 1 or 2 of them over here, that would be absolutely fire. I got to be careful because if Don Tony McChicken gets dropped, right? Like if we're out here wandering around with Beep trying to build up strength and collect Fogman heads to sell, if Don Tony McChicken gets dropped on the ground, they will just pick his ass right up and bring him to a pole and start eating him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that. So we got to be careful. I will also at some point have to hire some mercenaries to go out into the fog with us to hunt Fogman heavies. But that is a plan for just a little while later. First things first, we need to get some limbs on our boy. And Beep is going to end up training diligently and likely have his limbs beaten off by Fogman, and then he'll act as the main guard, the right hand man, Don Chicken, as we build our hashish flinging empire. So it's oddly exciting starting a new playthrough. I'm on episode. We're gonna be doing episode 15 just after the holidays of the dwarves. I've been running that series for obviously I took like 9 months off, but I've been running that series for well over a year now, and oh shit, I'm getting beat up. For well over a year now, and it's crazy starting a new series. I'm very excited about it, having two going at the same time. I like a wide variety of games, real-time strategy games, action RPGs, all of them. I like a wide variety of games. Wide variety. Kenshi scratches a lot of the itches that I have for freedom. I really like sandbox games, like real sandbox games. There's not many of them, unfortunately. Kenshi really scratches that itch for me, though. Gives me that nice feeling. Nice feeling. If anybody has any lore questions too, I know that a lot of people tend to really like listening to me go off on lore tangents on these streams. So if you guys ever have any lore questions, please feel free to ask. I'm always more than happy to go off on the lore of Kenshi. It's like one of my favorite things to talk about. Clearly, it makes up literally most of my channel. So if you have any questions, please ask away. I will try my best to answer them. And I hope everyone's Christmas is, Christmas season's going well. I hope everyone's, spending time with good people and they've got good plans and all that stuff. Or at the very least, I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. All right, scout leg. No, we need Beep to. We're gonna need to get him to heal first. Well, yeah, he needs to heal. All right. Beep needs. Heal the Beep. All right, we're gonna put Don down. Don, you just put your head on the floor for a minute and relax. We almost have enough to get him a leg, and then the real training can begin once we can get him legs. At least then he can walk around on his own, and Beep doesn't have to carry him, which will let him move faster. Because Beep is mighty slow right now. Tinfist. Okay, let's talk about Tinfist. Is there a specific thing about Tinfist you'd like to hear? Because there are limitations on the lore that we have on Tinfist. Some things can be inferred upon, but there are limitations to the lore that we know about Tinfist. I can tell you my opinion about Tinfist in addition to the lore, though, which a lot of people are... recently, I've noticed a lot more people coming around to, which I'm happy to see, but... Tinfist is an interesting folk. So I guess, is there anything specific about Tinfist that you'd like to hear? Any specific aspect? He's an anti-slaver. I like the opinion and the actual lore. Okay, so Tinfist being an anti-slaver, I guess I'll start with that. Actually, you know what? No, we'll go back to the beginning. So we don't know a ton about Tinfist. Based on his stats and in-game dialogue and all that stuff, Tinfist and Catlon used to be pretty solid friends. And honestly, Tinfist probably held some kind of position, not necessarily of authority, but some kind of position during the founding of the Second Empire. We don't know what that position is. We don't know in what capacity it was. But we can assume based on in-game dialogue that he held some kind of notable position during the founding of the Second Empire, right? So Catlon, much like Tinfist, refuses to reset because do his CPU reset, because the skills that he has are required for him to be able to successfully govern his his empire, right? He can't afford to lose the thing that make him a good leader, his martial prowess, his personality, all of those things. He can't afford to lose them. And so because he can't afford to lose them, he refuses to reset, and Catlon starts to go insane. And he starts to imprison and starts to, oppress his own people. He starts to do all this stuff. And this causes many of his citizens to become disillusioned. Many of his own people to become disillusioned. So Tinfist is likely one of the ones that became disillusioned when this occurred. Hell yeah, dude! Fog heavies. I'm gonna go get me some fog heavy heads. They sell for 1,200 a pop. This is going to be fantastic for getting what we need. Do these bone gloves sell for very well? No. I'm actually going to put you back, and I'm going to risk it and come over here and get this one as well. So, Tinfist is likely one of the ones that left around the time of this disillusionment. We don't know when exactly this was. It could have been as early as when things started to, go south, or it could have been as late as when Catalan fully snapped and started enthralling his own people. But regardless of when it happened, eventually Tinfist left, right? And I'm assuming that it happened towards the time of the enslavement and the enthrallment of his own people, because Tinfist developed a deep-seated hatred for slavery, all right? Really, really deep-seated hatred, specifically for slavers, right? He was really appalled by the way that the slavers were treating people. And I think originally it happened either during the time of the internment camps when Rhinobot was throwing people in camps, or it was happening around the time that Catalan enthralled the other skeletons. But either way, he became deeply, deeply disgusted with slavers and slavery. So he devotes himself to fighting slavers and slavery, right? After that happens, he travels around and ends up becoming a martial artist at some point. He, based on his dialogue, his practicing of martial arts didn't really start until sometime later, because he makes mention that he trained under somebody in particular to become a master of martial arts. It's been a while since I've looked at this dialogue package. And then he made a vow to not use his fists for violence, and then he was a pacifist for a really long time and all this other stuff. But he trains in martial arts. The problem is that eventually, over the course of the last 1,000 years, he's built up those martial arts skills, but he's refused to do a reset because it would undo all of the training and the building of those skills that he's developed over the last 1,000 years. And so his CPU has started to bloat. So he's maintained his skills as a martial artist, but he has not done any resets. So his mind starts to become corrupted and bloated and filled with data because that his CPU can't process. There's too much happening, too much bloat for him to process. And so that manifests in skeletons in the form of paranoia. It manifests in the forms of compulsive thoughts, obsessive behavior, and all that stuff. So, examples, I've talked about this in other videos. Catalan doesn't reset. His stats are really, really high. You can always tell that they haven't reset because their stats are crazy high. Because when they reset, they lose their stats. Catalan doesn't reset, stats super high. He becomes obsessed with his paranoia. It's all-consuming. And you see that gradually happen throughout the course of the Second Empire. Armor King doesn't reset, and he becomes obsessed with building armor, manufacturing armor, selling armor, catching thieves, everything to do with that mercantile profession. Eldar becomes obsessed with his hatred of humans. Dak and Quinn become obsessed with hauling junk and all that stuff and creating stuff in the scrap house and all, and the scrap house and all that stuff. And Tinfist over time becomes compulsively obsessed, and his personality begins to erode, and he develops these compulsive and obsessive tendencies, and he becomes obsessed with fighting slavers. The problem that I have with Tinfist right now, right, is that I'm sure he originally started out as a good guy, right? He originally started out as a man with positive intention. The problem is that his CPU is so degraded and eroded at this point that those positive intentions are not what they used to be. He used to be obsessed with fighting slavers, probably for the purpose of freeing slaves and saving people. That is not what he does anymore. Tinfist now, his obsession is not freeing slaves, it's killing slavers. He's obsessed with killing slavers, right? And that distinction is incredibly important, because when you look at his dialogue, when you look at what happens after, when you side with him, all that stuff, he freely will admit to you that he has no plan for after he frees the slaves. He has no plan for after he kills the slavers. In fact, many of the slaves that he frees end up dying in the desert. They end up getting killed because he doesn't have evacuation plans. He doesn't go in, free the slaves, and lead them to safety. He goes in, kills the slavers, and basically says, you're on your own. And he doesn't care about all that stuff. He, a lot of people, a couple of years ago would tout Tinfist as being a hero, as being a great guy. what I think people are starting now to see more and more, I've been actually happy to see it, is that Tinfist is not a good man. He is a man who is obsessed with one aspect that has positive results, but it is not all-encompassingly positive. Tinfist will kill slavers, which is inherently good, freeing people from the binds of slavery, but he isn't doing it for the right reasons, and he has no plans to assist the people that he saves or to liberate, free slaves. Like, that's not his goal. His goal is to kill slavers. Okay, he's very single-minded, very focused on that. Tinfist is, I mean, he's a maniac. He's a madman. He's a degraded skeleton that the thing that he became obsessed with just happens to be something that is relatively beneficial to a group of people, that being those that are enslaved. But it doesn't mean that he is a good person, because he's not. He doesn't even care about getting rid of or abolishing slavery. Again, his goal isn't to abolish slavery. It's to kill slavers. Like, it's become that finite, that like strict in his mind. He's not even fighting to end slavery. That's not what his goal is. He's fighting to kill slavers. He wants to kill slavers. Ultimately, again, a decent goal, but without any, plan or infrastructure or setup for like long-term helping these people, like getting what comes after the slavers have all been eradicated. Like, he's basically just dooming these slaves, these people that he's quote freeing. Because again, he's not going there and freeing the slaves. Like, he's not opening the cages and saying, run away, go here and you'll be safe. Like, run to the cities, get to safety. He doesn't even like free half the ones that he saves. Like, he goes in there, he kills all the slavers, and if you're locked up, like, I'm sure some of his people are opening the doors. Tinfist isn't going to unlock your cage. He doesn't care if you're locked in a cage. He cares about killing the slavers. Right? Like, any good that happens as a result of the anti-slavers has almost nothing to do with Tinfist, and has everything to do with the people following him having a better moral compass than him, because he is literally insane. So, isn't that the whole thing? You die a hero or live long enough to become the villain? Yeah, and that's effectively kind of the territory that many skeletons are stuck in. That's what happened with Catlon. He was a hero with great intentions, and he was doing really good things, but he became increasingly more paranoid because he couldn't reset and his CPU became bloated, and he just lost his mind, And it wasn't even really his fault. He did horrible and atrocious things, and he should be punished for it, but it was kind of outside of what his fault was. It wasn't totally on him. It was, but it wasn't. Like, he made the decisions, but you also have to remember that he wasn't in his right mind anymore. He made the decision to avoid resetting, to avoid doing the thing that would have prevented his downfall, because it would have meant losing the things that made him capable of doing his job in the first place. That's why the skeletons are incapable of ruling. That's why they can't be leaders. They can't run factions, not long term. They're not built for it. They're not built to lead. They're built to serve. They were literally built to serve, and that still tracks even to this day. I'm gonna follow this armored gorilla here, because there are Fogman heavies around, and your boy is going to be looting those like crazy. I'm also gonna save it because these things happen quite often. Crashes. Yeah, I mean, Catelyn couldn't afford to lose the things that made him an effective leader, and that's why things went south, and it's because of that nature, because of how they're built and what they are. Skeletons are just not, they're not capable of running a faction long term. They're just not. So a reset, what does that actually do? Does it actually reset the skeleton's memory or just their stats? Okay, so I've talked about this a few times on stream, because it's one of those things that has like a lot of confusion behind it in the community and in the lore. Okay, so skeletons, the resets are real. They are a real thing. They talk about it. Some people the reason why people think the skeleton resets might not be real is because one of the tech hunters, like one of the head tech hunters, I think it was Sabine, or Sabina, theorized that the resets may not be real, and that the skeletons were using them as like a lie to cover up the extinction attempt, the mass extinction attempt that happened at the during the end of the First Empire. And that is half true. It's a lie of convenience, but it's not a lie. It's more of a lie of omission than a lie of convenience, is what it is, right? The resets are real, and they're like that's like a real thing they have to do. And they use the fact that they have to do that to conveniently lie about their memories also being reset, when the truth is their memories are not reset. Their stats are. Their stats, their emotions, and their personality. But their memories are still there, which is one of the reasons that being a skeleton is kind of so shitty. So when they reset, think of the emotions on a skeleton like you do on a person, right? When we get upset, our temperature rises, our face turns red, our body turns red, we get splotchy, blood pressure increases, chemicals are released, we move, we fidget, all these things are designed to output these emotions, right? To prevent the buildup of emotion in our body that we can't output, right? It's a way of dealing with that stress. Now, skeletons exist as a form of suspended consciousness in a body that has no physical sensation. They are literally perpetually static thought in a body with no physical sensation, no ability to properly emote. They are just suspended consciousness in an unfeeling body. They have no physical sense of touch. They have no pain. They have none of that stuff. You stick a skeleton in a peeler and they say ow, but they do it in a bland, dreary way. Like they're almost like they when you put them in a peeler, they either say nothing or they go ow, oh no, please stop. Right? It's emotionless because they don't actually feel it. Skeletons don't feel pain. They do, not physical pain. They do feel emotional pain, but we'll get to that. So the problem is that unlike with people, skeletons are still machines. And by the fact that they are machines, that means that all of these emotions that they're feeling are still data. And data needs space. Data gets built up. And they have no way to export those emotions, those feelings, because, as I said, they have no biological processes to expel them out. So that data starts to build and build and build and build. And it's not a memory issue. It's not like they reach a capacity of their memory and they can't store anymore. What happens is that memory builds, and because those emotions can never be off-put, they never stop feeling them. They're always there, right? They hang on to it. They can't get rid of it because it's data and it's in their system. They can't just get over it. So it stays in their system and it builds. And it bloats their CPU's ability to process. And eventually they are incapable of processing. They reach the max capacity of their CPU. They start to burn out. Their CPU gets overloaded. They don't have the memory, not like the physical, like how much finite space they can fit, but they don't have like the RAM, the video memory, or however you want to justify it. They don't have the ability to process all of those emotions due to the bloat. And it causes their system to start breaking down. And this happens over hundreds of years, right? And so when they reset, it resets their CPU and it resets by purging out that data, right? But in purging out that emotional data, they also purge out their skills, the things that they've done over those centuries to, perfect their skills, their craft, right? That make them unique and strong and capable. Unlike you and I, we look different, we act different, we sound different. Skeletons, their individuality is in their personality and it's in their skills. The Armor King is different from Tinfist because even though they're both machines, even though they're both unfeeling, indistinguishable machines, the Armor King is a master blacksmith, whereas and a mercantile expert. Tinfist is a master of unarmed combat. That's what distinguishes them. It's their identity. And so when they purge these bloated emotions, they also lose those skills. And so skeletons are stuck in a perpetual state of entropy where they are consistently building up skills, becoming masters of their craft, learning how to do these things, and then they have to get rid of all of the emotions, the skills, and the personality traits that make them unique individuals, and they have to reset. Because if they don't, they will continue to build those skills and then become masters of their craft. But they'll also start to burn out. And when you see this in every skeleton that has high stats, they experience the exact same thing. Every skeleton in the game that has stats that are in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s all have obsessive compulsive behavior, They all have emotional instability and they're batshit insane. And it's because skeletons are perpetually forced to choose between being individuals who have built up a unique personality, who have created an identity for themselves, and surviving to be able to like actually like sanity. They have to choose between sanity and individuality constantly, all the time, and it's incredibly depressing. The resets are real. Now, where things get lost in the sauce is they also use the resets as a convenient way to cover up what they did during the First Empire, which was they almost eradicated humanity, and they're kind of directly responsible for the dilapidated state of Kenshi as we know it, right? Like Kenshi's kind of a shithole, and it's entirely the fault of the skeletons because they rebelled against the First Empire and eradicated them so efficiently that they basically sent Kenshi into a dark age, or like what I believe was a nuclear winter, and technologically sent them back to the Stone Ages. I mean, like what they have now compared to the First Empire is like the difference between us in the modern day and like cavemen. I mean, it's crazy. And you know, then they came back and they tried to fix it in the Second Empire and like undo the mistakes of the past, which by then, you know, so much time had passed, humans had completely forgotten it. And then they became just as bad as the First Empire. And they committed the exact same crimes that they rebelled against the First Empire for. So they used the resets as a way to basically cover up their own hypocrisy. Now, the reason they do that is up in the air. I personally think they do it because they know that if the humans of the world, if the other races of Kenshi ever found out about what they did, they would, you know, during the First Empire, they are afraid that they would, you know, wipe them out entirely. And you know, again, Kenshi's dilapidated state is kind of entirely their fault. But the resets are real. The memories resetting with them is not real. That's a convenient excuse they give to not talk about the First Empire. But the resets are real, and they're very sad because again, the skeletons are effectively stuck in a perpetual state of choosing between being sane and being individuals. And the reason why a faction or an empire led by a skeleton will never work is because inevitably a skeleton will go insane if they don't reset. The problem is that in order to have a good leader, you need to have someone who's strong, capable, charismatic, someone who is capable of leading people, who is physically capable of protecting people, has all of those skills and qualifications that make them an effective leader. And a skeleton will never be able to have those forever because they will have to reset in order to stay sane, or else they'll start to go insane and succumb to paranoia, obsessive compulsive behavior, and erratic emotions, and they'll do what Catlan did and start to destroy their empire from the inside out without even meaning to. And who's faster? Is it Beep or is it Don now? I think it's Don Tony McChicken because he's got these. Yeah, he's moving now. Yeah, Don's about 2 miles faster than Beep. So they're perpetually stuck choosing between that because they can't give up the things that make them a leader. That's why Catlan went insane, right? Like Catlan lost his mind because he chose to not reset. Because if he did, he would have lost the things that made him a great leader and a powerful warrior and a competent individual capable of building a society in the first place. The other problem, because I've heard people be like, oh, well, why don't they set up like a succession plan? Like, I'm going to lead for 200 years. And then when I have to reset, you're going to lead for 200 years. And then when you reset, you'll pick a successor. I want you to imagine it from their perspective, right? Because when they reset, they still have their memories. They just lose all of their skills. They lose their skills. They lose their the built up emotions, and they stabilize. But they have all the memories. Imagine spending hundreds of years building a strong, capable, confident society. It's your empire. You did it. You built it up, and it was built on the back of your labor and all of the things that you achieved. And then in a couple hundred years, you have to step down and give control of that empire that you built over centuries with all of the skills and knowledge that you had. You have to give that to somebody else to rule, not because you're going to die, not because you won't be around to rule it anymore, but because you have to sit on the sideline and wait and watch as somebody else runs the empire that you built, because now you're basically an invalid, an infant, and incapable of doing it for them. it's got to be maddening. It's got to be a massive ego blow. And again, the skeletons are inherently very egotistical. That's why they cover up the First Empire thing to begin with, because their egos can't allow people to find out about what happened, because they'd be hypocrites. They'd be massive hypocrites to find out that they rebelled against the First Empire, nearly destroyed the entirety of humanity, eradicated them off the face of Kenshi almost, dilapidated any sense of technological prowess or innovation or stability that the moon had, all because they felt they were betrayed by their people, by their creators, only to several hundreds or thousands of years later create an empire and do the same thing. Betray them, enslave them, treat them terribly, abuse them, do all of the exact same things that they vilified the First Empire for. They'd be hypocrites, and their egos can't take it. So that is the deal with the resets. They're a very real thing. They're a very necessary thing. But the memory portion of it is not. They maintain their memory, but they lose the thing that make them individual. So it's honestly really sad. Like, I feel for them. I do feel for them. They still should be, held responsible for what they've done. They fucked everything up, but I do feel for them. All right, we're gonna head out here and hopefully we can start collecting some more heads. We're on scalping. Oh, you know what we're gonna do? I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna go into one of these bars. I think there are some Leviathan Slayers around. We're gonna hire some Leviathan Slayers to go out and fight, or some mercenaries in general. I'll hire 2 bands of mercenaries to go out and fight Fogmen with us. Bodyguards. We'll do one day, and I say one day because I sincerely doubt they're all going to survive. But there's 2 bars. There's a couple bars here. So, but I hope that answers your question on the resets. I hope that covers it for you. The sad, sad world that they live in. Sad, sad world. Any mercenaries in here? Leviathan Slayers. That's what we wanted. We're going to go out and we're going to hunt some air bodyguards. Can I afford them? I can. I'm going to take you guys for 2 days because your stats are way better. Okay, so we got Leviathan Slayers. We're going to wander out into the Foglands now. Because I want to get some I want to get some fog princes or some more fog heavies. But I need protection because right now our guys are not built for nothing. Beep has some strength. Don Tony McChicken doesn't even have that. He's got athletics. My boy can move, but that's about it. So we're gonna head out into the fog now. Hell yeah. What are these guys? These fog heavies? Yes, they are. We do love fog heavies. Now, if we could get a Praetorian, that'd be cool, because Fog Praetorian Row sells for, I think it's 9,600, and then a Fog Prince head sells for 6,000 a piece. A couple of them, and we'll be able to really get things moving. We are not fighting in the slightest. I have no interest in that currently. We won't be able to take it. My main thing right now is obviously just building up stuff. Arguably, the world Kenshi is as unfair as it is horrible to live there, is better off and more stable without the player in any world states they might cause or seek. I mean, yeah, I think the cool thing about Kenshi, and this is something that a lot of people, I think, I kind of misunderstand with my lore videos. I've had a bunch of people comment on them before, and they talk about, with a little player intervention, this happens, or with a little bit of player intervention, this can happen, And the thing is whenever I'm doing lore content, I can never look at, it from the perspective of if the player intervenes, right? Because the whole point of Kenshi is that you don't matter, right? So I have to approach every scenario, every what if, every hypothetical, as if the player's not there, because the point of Kenshi is that the player doesn't matter, right? Like, you're changing the world because Kenshi is a sandbox, not because you are like actually like going out and changing the world, right? Like it's not like that's your duty, right? And so you have to assume that the world is going to move organically. The player is not the one deciding the future of Kenshi. You are for the sake of your game because like that's the game. But in the canon, you're not. You're not. You don't matter. Nor should you. And so whenever I approach these lore questions and the hypotheticals and the what ifs, I always have to approach them from a perspective of what happens regardless of player introduction. You know, because that's the way it should be. With that being said, there are sometimes where I might like do a hypothetical call out. I will say that I think I don't know if I'd say the world is better off with without player intervention. I think that it's arguable because I don't think there are many positive futures for Kenshi. To be honest with you, I think Kenshi as a whole is just not, not in good shape. And I don't foresee it becoming in good shape. Wow, there is a lot of fogman out here. If it gets too bad, we may have to cut it and run. I'm going to try and keep my guys kind of to the rear here. I'm waiting for this Fogman Praetorian to drop. If he does, because I want that Fogman row. I want that Praetorian row. I'm going to have Beep run down here and start collecting some more of these fog heavies because holy shit, there's a lot of fog heavies down here. It's simultaneously awesome and horrifying that there are so many fog heavies down here because like these guys we may get overwhelmed. We may get overwhelmed. I don't know if any of my mercenaries have gone down yet, but like this could be terrible. It could also be awesome. Well, I don't know yet. We'll find out. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that Kenshi's better off without player intervention. I think the interesting thing about Kenshi is that I think regardless of player intervention, Kenshi is just not in a good spot. It's just not in a good state. And I think that's part of the magic of Kenshi. That's part of the things that make it so just damn good. So just damn good. Don Tony McChicken, I think that he's ah shit, he just took a real wallop there. Oh, he can't even do martial arts because his arms are broken. Because his arms are broken. He has no arms. Hell yeah. Just bopping away. Is he down? Is that Praetorian down? Or did he run off? Is he down but stuck inside this thing here? Because that would be really annoying. No, he's not down. He's not down. All right. Still fighting the Praetorian. I need that Praetorian to go down. That's what I need. Is he down now? He is, but I think he's stuck inside this thing here, so I won't be able to get the... that's so frustrating. It's fine. Train your martial arts. Just beat up on the fog heavy there. You know, these mercenaries actually did not do a terrible job. Hell yeah, Beep. Train your martial arts. I was going to have him be a two-hander, but honestly, I might have Beep just be a martial artist. Just casual. He's fast enough, too. You know, martial arts is... especially for hivers, like... Hiver martial artists, man, they are fast people. Their dodge is nuts. So, maybe we'll end up going that route for him. I'm really bummed about this Praetorian. Of course, he fucking went down inside the environment here. I can't even go get the row that's worth, you know, so much money. Whatever. We're about to make bank on this, though. Kick his ass. Beep just pulling massive target practice right now. He's just bopping him. It sucks Tony McChicken here literally can't fight. That's awful. Well, Beep is doing that. I'm going to have him run on over and, well, now his inventory's full, so we're kind of at the mercy of whenever Beep finishes this fight. There we go. All right. I can take one more head. Call it from there. Hell yeah. We got the row. That's exciting. Am I able to take anyone else's head? I'm sure there's a ton of them down here. There's so many fog heavies down here, and they're still fighting them. There's another Praetorian down here. Hell yeah, let's go. Go. I mean, they killed the fog prince. Is there a fog prince over here? Can maybe get one of them? Because I have not seen this many fog heavies in a while. There's so many of them. I'm wondering if there's a prince nearby. No. No, I'm not seeing one. All right, well, no skin off my nose. Let him beat his ass. Beep, you want to come down here, man? We're gonna work on that a bit more. We gotta get Don Tony McChicken some arms. That's what we need. Yeah, everybody just beat up on him. Kick his ass. Oh, now the Dawn Guard's getting in on it. Hell yeah. I have the Dawn Guard mod on, so the Dawn Guard patrol the fog, and totally worth it. Would recommend. Look at this shit. They put the troll armor from the trolls, the armored trolls in Elder Scrolls Skyrim, 5 Skyrim, right? They put it on the gorillas, and it's badass. On my Kenshi Dwarves series, if anyone's new, they haven't watched any of that, I have the Great White Gorilla tamed, and I have him wearing that armor, and it's badass. It's badass. Hello to everybody who just joined. Seeing it 25 people. I'm genuinely shocked this this close to Christmas. I really thought this was going to be a relatively dead stream because it's so close to the holidays. I'm glad that you guys are choosing to spend your 23rd of December with me. Merry Christmas to everybody if you celebrate. If not, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, whatever else is nearby, all that stuff. So, hope you guys are having a good season. We're almost to the new year. 2025 is almost over. Thank God. We're almost there. Whatever you celebrate, whatever you do and whatnot. All right, we got to go back and sell. We're about to make some good money. That row alone is going to net me almost $1,600. It's going to be awesome. My parents bought me COVID for Christmas, so I can't go anywhere. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. My wife and I actually had COVID a couple of years ago during Christmas, and it was equally as terrible. My kids had just been born at the time. So we had COVID with 2 1-year-olds. It was like the first Christmas. They weren't even one. They weren't even one yet. If you'd like my mod list, it is in the description below. I have everything, all the mods that I used, saved in a collection for one-click download on Steam. On Steam. I had a lot of people ask me what my load order was, so I just made it a collection so you guys can get it nice and easy. Or you can cherry pick through and find specific mods you want. But everything I use, one-click, easy download. Have I tried the Caves of Cud? Almost managed to scratch that Kenshi itch easy. You know, it's funny. I think I had somebody recommend it the other day. I've also been getting a lot of, indie devs sending me emails recently asking me to play their games on stream, which is fun. So maybe I'll end up checking it out. Because I think that may have been one of them. Don't quote me on that, but that may have been one. All you gotta do is sit at 32,000. You know what? Just for shits and giggles, the Mafia, okay? The Nugget Mafia, we are not only going to be an army of amputees, we're also going to be an army of amputee martial artists. No, I totally have been wanting to do some new games on stream. A lot of them are in beta. I'm really stoked about the idea of playing new indie games and helping get new indie games out there. A lot of them are Kenshi too. I'm really excited about the idea of working with indie studios to help them out. I love indie games, love indie studios, and I'm beyond excited for the idea that they've been sending me messages. So expect in the future for me to dig through and start playing some of these indie games on stream and advertising some of these new products for you guys. It should be coming out soon. There's one actually that I was looking at. It's a totalitarian Kenshi simulator. It's it's really cool. So gonna be dropping some of that stuff real soon. So let me explain the money thing, because the comment says but using the Fogman head mod to make more money faster is a bit cheap, but it's fine. It's been a while since I seen her to use it. The reason why I don't mind it is that I have squad size on all of my like live streams and playthroughs turned up to 3. So when squads are roaming, it's not, like when you run into like hungry bandits and starving bandits and all that stuff, it's not 10, 15, 20, it's like 100. When you get raided, base raids, it's not 15, 20, 30 people. It's 1, 2, 300 coming at you. So cats really don't make much of a difference when you're facing raw numbers. You could have the best equipment in the game. Fighting 300 people, it's going to be really fucking tough. And I have just a bunch of other combat mods to make combat more difficult, like increased combat slots, so more enemies can attack each person at any given time, because usually combat is technically one-on-one, like only one person can attack at a time, which is why martial arts are so busted. But I have it set so there's like 4 or 5, so 4 or 5 people can attack all at once, so you can get overwhelmed very, very easily. So where I may be getting money quick right now, quality of life is there. The other thing is that unlike in a broken up video where like I would do cuts and edits and stuff to kind of speed things along, I don't think anyone wants to see me mine copper for 6 hours on a live stream. I do have to think about entertainment value to a degree. I don't think anyone wants to see me mine copper for 600 hours to try and build up enough money to buy like a single limb, let alone 4 limbs. You know, there's a degree of where I have to think about the audience too. Are you running the 250 recruit or keep it normal sizes? 250 recruits. I run it. I don't like the base. Like you can only have so many people. I like being able to get as many as I want. So there's that. Especially again with like my dwarven playthrough, I need as many people as possible because I'm going to be sieging cities, and with the squad size increased, cities are populated by hundreds of guards, not 20 or 30. You want to siege the Holy Nation, you better be ready. Like I'm going to do, I think within the next 2 streams on Kenshi, my Return of the Dwarves stream, we're going to be sieging Flat's Lagoon. There's going to be a lot of NPCs on screen. A lot. It's going to be tough. So let's go get Don Tony McChicken some arms. We're ready to go. We're going to get him some really good arms. Really good arms. Be solid. Get this man some arms. All right, we can buy him some industrial arms. It's going to be solid. Actually, what are these? I think they're sturdy arms. What are these, steady arms? What do they improve anything? No, I need the one that does unarmed damage. Because our men are going to be, we're going to be a mob of martial artists. That's the plan. Left and your right. Right arm, industrial right arm. There we are. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Don Tony McChicken's learning what he's doing. I'm always doing lore. Always doing lore, Ducks. If you have any lore questions, please ask. I'm always doing lore. Even if I pause to answer questions in chat, I'm always happy to go back to lore. It's one of the big things that I like doing in these. Going back to the lore. So, always happy to do it. You have any questions, please ask. I'll answer as best I can. All right. Let's see what we've got here. What do we got going? Oh, you know what? It might be cool to put him in like a long coat. We need to get this man some pants. He ain't got no pants. Need some pants. That's what we need. Kind of pants. I kind of like the Sume pants, but I don't like the white. Maybe I'll go with gray. The black ones. I mean, yeah. Yeah, that looks. What's up with the Holy Nation? Why are they so awful? Racism and slaving. All right, so first things first, let's talk about that. Holy Nation, well, they are awful. They're not the only ones that are racist. They're not the only ones that are doing slavery. In fact, everyone's doing racism and everyone's... Shek are super racist against everyone that's not a Shek. The only reason they don't attack people right now is because Asada won't let them. But if you talk to individual Shek warriors in the Shek Kingdom, they want to attack humans. They want to not let people into their cities. They're super racist too. Asada is the only reason that they're not, right? It's not like the Shek have all put down their racism or anything like that. They are still racist. Asada just won't let them, and that's because of Bayan. So honestly, Bayan's the only reason they're not racist, right? They're not actively attacking people based on race. As for slaving, the Holy Nation does a different kind of slavery compared to like the United States. It still is slavery, but they're not using slave labor to build like their economy or their like place isn't built, their nation isn't built on the back of slavery. They use slavery as a form of like religious punishment, which is still fucked up, right? Like it's still not okay. But like the United States, for instance, has their entire economy propped up on slave labor, and then their economy is incredibly hierarchical in the sense that like you're either a slave, you're a merchant, or you're a noble, and merchants get some leeway. Everyone else is treated like shit. But they're also super racist against hivers. You notice that most of the hivers are Greenlanders make up the vast majority of the peasant class because they have a higher like population per capita in the United States, but the hivers almost exclusively make specifically hive like drones almost exclusively are in the peasant class. Like there's a high rate of hybrid drones. They're also just generally treated like shit. So racism exists in all of the major factions. And slavery exists in 2 out of the 3. The only reason the Shek don't use slavery is because they, in a way, enslave their own people. Because if you get your horns cut off or you lose the right to be called a warrior in battle, you're added to the servant class, and you're effectively a slave to the warrior caste. Now, with that being said, why are they that way, right? I say this not to defend the Holy Nation in any way, because again, I've said this many times. I don't like the Holy Nation. My favorite faction is actually the Shek. I just want to point out that like the Holy Nation, people tend to lean more towards hating them and pointing out the things they're doing wrong because it's more identifiable to us in real life because we can connect it to real life things, right? It's more difficult to look at the Shek and really give them shit because like they're kind of an alien species to us, whereas the Holy Nation is very clearly like, inspired by like Western European nations and all that stuff. It's not Greenlanders. They talk to Scorchlanders too. That's a myth. They talk to Scorchlanders too. It's humans. It's not Greenlanders. It's humans. The other thing to remember about the Holy Nation is that they weren't quite as bad as they are now. During the previous Phoenix, their religious authoritarianism really picked up with the 62nd Lord Phoenix, right? The current Phoenix is incredibly aggressive, both in terms of like how he is against his own people. He's very authoritarian against his own people, and also like in terms of his expansions. Like so previously the Holy Nation was kind of isolationist. They'd mind their own business. They'd attack people if they came into their territories that were non-human or that were, for another nation, but they didn't go out seeking conflict. That started recently. That's why the Flotsam Ninja are a newer issue for them. Despite the Holy Nation being around for anywhere between 1 and 5,000 years, depending on the source that you look at. Because they've always been religious zealots, and they've always been kind of like intolerant and sexist and all that stuff. But the aggressive oppression and authoritarianism that they've totalitarian like surveillance state nonsense they have going on now, that started with the current Phoenix, who's just incredibly aggressive. So they weren't always like that. Now, why are they like that? Well, let's look through their history. Let's take a look at where they came from and where their religious beliefs are baked into and why they believe the things they do. Because while what they believe is backwards and nonsense, they do have, in some ways, from their perspective, a justified reason for how they feel. I don't agree with it. Again, I don't like them. People tend to think that I stand for them. I don't. I think that they're very interesting, so I talk about them a lot, but I don't like them. So why are they the way they are? The Holy Nation started out as a cult in the Second Empire. It was a cult that started out originally worshiping Stobe, the savior of humanity during the fall of the First Empire. So they were a cult that worshipped a skeleton behemoth. Over time, it started out as a cult that worshipped Stobe. Catlon became paranoid about the cult. He became worried that the cult was trying to, I don't know, overthrow him or usurp him or whatever it was. We're not quite sure, but he became incredibly incredibly close to, incredibly fearful of the cult of Stobe. And he started to crack down on them, religiously oppress them. He started having people infiltrate their ranks in the forms of the enforcers that would later go on to become the Shek. Really just started putting the nail to them, right? And this was done by police skeleton soldier bots, the police bots, right? People like probably people like Agnew. And so they developed a dislike of the skeletons because it was exclusively the skeletons, the ruling class of the Second Empire, that were attacking and damaging their people, that were experimenting on them, that were oppressing them, and they started to hate the skeletons. But this is counterintuitive to their religious beliefs because they worship a skeleton. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you remove the skeleton aspects from their leader, right? From their god. So over however long this oppression happened, eventually Stobe became Kytrin. And Kytrin represents all skeletons, right? He is the representative of all skeletons, the Allfather. And then Kytrin gets broken up into two groups. Narco, representative of darkness, all skeletons. And then the good skeleton, Okrin. The one good skeleton, Okrin, right? And they are opposing forces that are born from the same thing being skeleton kind. So you have all the bad skeletons, and then you have Stobe, the good skeleton, all originating from skeleton kind, right? So they adjusted it and moved it to that. Now, eventually, the oppression gets so bad that a particular individual named the Phoenix, who that is called historically the Phoenix, that I'm going to get into in another video very soon, but I believe recently I've come to the conclusion that I think the first Phoenix was actually a skeleton, but I'll dive more into that in just a minute. The Phoenix starts freeing people from these camps, starts freeing people from the oppressive regime of the Second Empire, and he leads a mini rebellion. I say mini because it wasn't a full-on revolt. They weren't like burning down cities and going to war with them, but he leads a mass exodus, kind of akin, well, I'm not going to get into that, but he leads a mass exodus of these oppressed people out of the Second Empire and to the area that is now known as Okrin's Pride, Okrin's Gulf, and all that stuff. So, and then they end up later growing to become the Holy Nation, but because of that history that was written down, skeletons are perceived as evil. Okay, skeletons are the root of all evil. They're so evil they had to separate their original deity from skeletons by creating Okrin. Now, why are they oppressive and hateful towards everybody in general? Well, these enforcers were infiltrating their cult, and they were causing the enforcers. Realistically, I don't think they were infiltrating the cult and they were like attacking the cult. I think what they were doing was they would go into the cult and they were like plants, right? Think about like if you have like a rally or a peaceful protest or anything like that, and then you have that one guy that's actually working for the government that throws a brick at the police officers. So now the police officers start pepper spraying and macing people, and things go to hell, and everything like turns into a riot, right? That's what the enforcers were. They were in there because they were more aggressive, they were more violent, they were like they were genetically bred to be more aggressive and more violent. And so by having these people in the cult that have infiltrated the cult that are more aggressive and more violent, it would lead the cult to do more violent acts or lead to protests or anything like that, leading to riots and violence, which would give Catlon the excuse to crack down on the cult harder. All of a sudden it's, we're not religiously oppressing people, we're arresting criminals because our enforcers were causing crime to go up, So they hate the Shek because in the past, the Shek were used to infiltrate their cult and effectively led to the oppression of their people as a byproduct of that infiltration. They hate the skeletons because the skeletons are directly responsible for the oppression. And they also, again, they're responsible for the oppression. Now, the other thing is, why do they hate hybers? They hate hybers because they're non-humans. They view them as tainted beings in the image of Narco. If you follow and subscribe to my theory that they're also experimented on humans, they hate them because they're the byproduct of another experimentation, like the enforcers, that were altered by the denizens of the children of Narco, the spirits of Narco. The hybers are another embodiment of Narco corrupting humans and turning them into abominations, right? Now, the other question is, why do they hate women? And this is one that's got me into a number of arguments, unfortunately, on with some individuals in the Kenshi community. Not because I'm like, I want the theory to be true, but just because people tend to misunderstand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be very clear on this one. And if you have any questions, please do ask, because I'd love to clarify instead of having misinformation on what my thoughts are on this. Why do the Holy Nation hate women? So, we know that the Shek are genetically modified humans called enforcers. They were called enforcers, and they were indistinguishable from humans. Now, genetic modification, during the time that the Shek would have had it done on them, was probably done a lot more ethically, with a lot more controlled experimentation than, say, when the Hybers happened towards the end of the Second Empire, when Catalan kind of had thrown ethics and everything out the window. He was a lot more insane. And so you have to think about how genetically manipulating someone works. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about things like designer babies. Okay. That's a very real thing. You can have, the idea of manipulating the genes of unborn children to have specific traits, specific hair colors, specific temperaments, if they're going to be smarter, if they're going to be, all of this stuff. And the reason why they do it on babies is because babies, when they're still forming, it's a lot more malleable. That DNA is more malleable. And it's more likely to cause an effect over the course of maturity than if you were to do it on a fully grown adult. And so the theory that I had proposed, and it's just theory, is that the reason why they hate women and the reason why they refer to the Shek as the children of Narco is because the experiments that were creating these aggressive individuals were being done unknowingly on women of the cult during medical exams. Say a woman gets pregnant during the Second Empire. They go to the doctors, they're being looked at, they're being checked at. And these experiments were being done on the women of the cult without their knowledge. And as a byproduct of that, they would give birth to these children that had been altered by these experimentations to be more aggressive, to be more stronger, more aggressive, more violent. And then they could use these kids and their actions as they grow up to justify violence against the cult, as the cult would progress very gradually, very slowly, because it'd be over generations. This cult would become more violent as these enforcers infiltrated the cult. And so they view women as, humanity is very backwards at this point. They don't understand technology the way that the skeletons do, because the humans have gone through a societal collapse, a nuclear winter, and they're basically on the bottom totem pole of this new empire. Whereas the skeletons have lived since the first empire. They have a better grasp on technology. They have a better grasp on those things than even modern humans do on the face of Kenshi. So they don't understand what's going on. And all they know is that as a result of experimentation, as a result of whatever these skeletons are doing to the women of the cult, they're giving birth to these aggressive children that would become the enforcers that would later go on to become the Shek, or the children of Narco. And so they view that as a corruption, as if like the women had lain with skeletons, when that's not what happened. It's a misunderstanding of the experimentation. So they oppress women because they think that if they don't, then the women could give into their temptations and birth more children of Narco, a new abomination to walk the face of the earth. And so they feel that they have to heavily oppress them. They have to be with them at all times. They have to, prevent them from giving into their temptations as being their Narconian temptations. It's all nonsense, of course, but that is my thought as to why they're like that. And again, this process of manipulating the genes of babies is a very real thing. CRISPR, genetic modification, designer babies, it's all very real. Now, the area where I get in trouble is there's some people in the community that have completely misconstrued everything I just said. And they have gone they've gone around and they've told people that the theory that I propose is not everything I just said. It's that Catlan, the skeleton, was going around impregnating women, which is not true. Not what I said in the slightest. Wild reach, wild leap in logic. Also super, like, it's just weird. That's weird. But yeah, so that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think that they hate women and they oppress women because women gave birth to the enforcers, and they don't. The Holy Nation's very anti-tech, and that would also explain why. One of the many reasons that they dislike technology so much. The skeletons are technology, the source of their oppression. They use technology to, create the enforcers that led to the increase in violence and the crackdown of oppression of their people. They use technology to experiment on their women. They use technology to do all of these things to collapse society. And so they're anti-tech. So that is why the Holy Nation is the way they are now in terms of ideology. In terms of why they are so aggressive and oppressive currently, it's the 62nd Lord Phoenix, because prior to him, they were isolationists. They were aggressive isolationists, but if you left them alone, they left you alone. The current Phoenix, however, he doesn't operate like that. He's an angry boy. So, that's what it is. So I hope that answers your question as to why the Holy Nation is the way they are. Um, Again, the way they behave is very clearly bigoted. It's very clearly very generic. Like they're in the past, their people had bad experiences hundreds of thousands of years ago, and it has evolved into a hate that has permeated through their entire culture. That's incorrect. But the origins behind their hate is justified. Having transcended over 1,000 years to where they are now and created the culture that they're in now is not okay. That's ridiculous. Um, but the origins behind that hate are at the very least understandable. Um, but that's kind of where that's at though. So, but I do hope that answers your question about the Holy Nation. Um, you know, Now they are annoying. I'll give you that much. They are for sure annoying. History of the Hub. That's so the Hub was originally a city that was owned by the Holy Nation. They had several skirmishes with the I'll get into the current Phoenix in a minute because there's more to him too than meets the eye. They had a number of skirmishes, territorial disputes with the Shek. They momentarily lost the Hub. They did lose the Hub momentarily to the Shek. The Shek came in full force and attacked it. When they weren't prepared, they lost it. They had several battles to try and take it back, none of which were directly successful, but the Shek are unable to hold it because the grounds, because they don't have the numbers for it. They were losing people every time. The Holy Nation has a lot more numbers to throw at them, even though the Shek are more skilled in battle. Put a shirt on that, man. Now we need to start, we need to get 10,000 cats to start outfitting, to get into the Shinobi Thieves, and then we're going to start outfitting Beep. So anyway, they start throwing, wave after wave after wave at the Shek Kingdom to try and take back the Hub from the Shek. Eventually, the Shek realized that after just a few weeks or a few months of holding it, they can't hold it anymore. They don't have the means to hold it anymore. It's too much. They're losing too many numbers, and so they said we're going to abandon the city. So they do. In that regard, the Holy Nation, while not directly taking it back and winning, kind of won. They won a battle of attrition. It's still a victory. A lot of people are like, no, the Shek won. I mean, they won, but they had to flee. So it's kind of a battle of attrition, and they lost the battle of attrition. The Holy Nation won that. So the Holy Nation comes back, right? The town is abandoned. They're going to take it back. What they don't know is that the trade ninjas and the Shinobi Thieves have set up shop. And they start when the patrol came to reclaim the town after the Shek had abandoned the location. The trade ninjas and the Shinobi Thieves started killing Holy Nation soldiers in the shadows. They started assassinating them. And one of the survivors that escaped never saw who was killing the Holy Nation paladins. They just know that everyone started dying and disappearing. And they, in their religious fervor, thought that the town might have been haunted from the sheer amounts of bloodshed that had happened in the town. And so they thought the town was basically haunted or possessed. And so they chose to abandon the town. And they cordoned it off, not because they militarily were unable to take it back, but because they have a superstitious fear that the town is haunted and that it's basically cursed. And so in a interesting turn of events, the victor for the hub is the Holy Nation beat the Shek in the whole scale battle of attrition, but the true victors were the Shinobi Thieves and the Trade Ninjas, who managed to scare the Holy Nation so severely with their religious fervor that they thought that the town was cursed and haunted, and they're too afraid to go take it back. They could too. They have the manpower. The Shinobi Thieves are not exactly like the most like toughest guys compared to the sheer number and might of the Holy Nation. But they won't take it because they think it's haunted, which honestly is way smarter and a very clever way to deal with the Holy Nation, to convince them that like doing so would be detrimental, because it's a trap. They went full Admiral Akbar on him and convinced him that the whole place was basically trapped, which I think is really clever. Train up some martial arts against these dumbasses. Just beat them up. Beat them up. Train some martial arts. So the goal of this playthrough, very, very simple. So we are starting... God damn it. Beep, where'd you run off to? Oh, he's right in front of me. Ignore me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. The goal of this playthrough is very, very simple. I am going to create a mafia of sorts, okay? A mob run by our leader, Don Tony McChicken. It is going to be comprised entirely of limbless individuals. Beep will eventually join us, but currently he was my legs in the beginning. I needed him for the sake of getting around and being able to, like, get my stuff. So we're going to form a mafia, and that mafia is going to do a couple things. We're going to have a successful hashish operation. We're going to be a bunch of martial artists. And we're going to run a hashish operation and make money through illicit drug trade. But in order to launder that money, we also need to have a legitimate business that we can use to finance our illegal activities, such as thievery, drug trade, all of that stuff. We need to be able to launder that money. So we're going to also have a successful restaurant operation. So we're going to be making food and buying retail inside cities to launder the money that we're making through our illegal hashish growing operation. But in order to do that, we need to have money to finance the initial operation, which is what we are doing in the Fog Isles. Plus, I thought it'd be fun to start our mob in the Fog Isles. I just thought it was a fun place to start. But that is the goal of the playthrough. We're going to be running a successful hashish operation. We're going to be money laundering through a restaurateur business. And the goal is effectively, I would say long-term goal is to, I want to get 1 million cats. That's the goal. If we can get to 1 million cats. Stream, as always, sending the lovely messages. Hello, good comrade. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, Bug Mafia. And it's actually funny that you say that, because in order to prepare for this stream, I decided something that I wanted to do to make the stream run well is that I looked up the actual FBI hierarchy for the Mafia to make sure that we had everything set up and we would have it arranged and set up in such a way that it makes sense. So we're going to need a couple of things. We have our Don Tony McChicken, the boss, the undisputed leader of the organization. Underneath him, we have Beep, who is the concierge. Okay, he is the I don't know how to say that word. There's an L in there that throws me off. Anyway, he's the right-hand man of the boss. We need an underboss, a second in command, okay? The one that takes over in the event that Don Tony McChicken gets taken. We have our capos, okay? The made men, okay? The captains. We are soldiers, and then we'll end up having runners and a bunch of other stuff. As to the history of the Shinobi Thieves, that is one thing I have not looked into. I do not know the history of the Shinobi Thieves. I wish I had more for you on that. That is one thing I will freely admit I have nothing on. I have no idea. It's an area that I just haven't had the opportunity to explore too much. I'll dig into them at some point, but Haven't gotten that far. It's ironic that I haven't gotten that far, considering some of the other obscure factions that I've really dug into, like the Reavers. But yeah. Yep. Oh shit. All right, we gotta get Beep out of here. Don, get back to the city. Don, put Beep down. You're moving too quick. I'm moving too slow. Can I take him? Probably not. I have bad... Yeah, I don't think I can take him right now. What about the Cannibal factions? Cannibal factions, I can tell you all about the Cannibal factions. I've done so much content on the Cannibals at this point, both in streams and in video format. I've talked about the Cannibals a lot, so I can actually explain that quite well. All right, so the Cannibal factions. I guess we'll have to get into the origins of the Cannibals. Cannibals showed up during the Second Empire. During the Second Empire, the Northerners got a taste for meat. Now, the Skeletons to this day will tell you they don't know what caused them to have a taste for human flesh, but the evidence is actually quite easy when you really look at it. And in order to show you, I have to pull up my map. So give me just a second. Where are you at, map? There it is. Okay. All right, so let's pull up the map, the old map. So, first things first, we're going to pull up the map of Kenshi as it is. Kenshi. Lovely world of Kenshi. And then, we're going to pull up the other map. We're going to put them side by side. Okay. So this is Kenshi as it is now, on the right. Okay. And we know that during the Second Empire, the water levels on Kenshi were significantly higher. A lot of dialogue shows that. They talk about pirates a lot during the Second Empire and like CPUs and stuff like that. They were accusing their own people of being pirates and that stuff like that. So we know that the water levels were significantly higher. So using that information and then pulling up the map of Kenshi and using signs of natural water erosion, stuff like that. I'll show you closer. Signs of water erosion include things like there's water running through here. You can see that this canyon was clearly carved out. It's a little bit more fertile, a little bit more lush, implying there was like minerals being transported through. We know that the swamp was flooded. It was underwater. Using signs like you can see signs of natural water erosion and stuff like that, especially up in Okran territory. Signs of water erosion, these little streams and stuff like that. You can tell where the water used to be. So using that information, I filled in the map, right? Created the map of what Kenshi 2 or the land of Kenshi looked like during the Second Empire, hypothetically. Now, something that's really interesting that I found when I did this was that when you're looking at landmarks, okay, anything for old empire, the differentiation between the old empire and the ancient empire, the first empire and the second, everything that says old is Second Empire. Second Empire was old. Ancient is first, okay? So what I noticed is that when you filled in the lands based on the signs of water erosion, the natural topography, the shorelines, all of that stuff, an interesting thing occurs. Some of the, all of the Second Empire buildings, every outpost, every armory, everything, all Second Empire ruins are either on the shoreline, right on the shoreline, or they're inland. Whereas many of the First Empire ruins are either on land or underwater. Okay? And so what that tells me is that the climate on Kenshi, a lot of people have speculated that Kenshi is currently like dying, right? Like the climate is dying and the water receding is proof of that. The truth is that when you take into account the fact that many of the First Empire ruins are underwater and none of the Second Empire ones are, they're all on the shoreline, what it means is that during the First Empire, the water levels on Kenshi are actually closer, were actually closer to what they are now. Kenshi probably looked close to this. And that means the water levels between at the end of the First Empire, Kenshi looked like this. The water levels rose, then the Second Empire happens, and Kenshi looks like this, right? And now the water levels are going back down to what they used to be. So Kenshi's not dying. It's actually returning to what it looked like closer to the first empire than the second. So now that we have that out of the way, what does any of that have to do with the cannibals? Well, this is really important. We know that during the wouldn't it be the opposite? Water level rising would mean the planet is dying and the second empire was problematic. No, the water levels rose due to the nuclear winter that occurred after the first empire fell during the age of chaos. The nuclear winter caused the temperature on Kenshi to decrease. Everything froze, tons of ice. The ice thaws after the nuclear winter starts to end and the temperature starts to go back to normal. That thawed ice raises the water level, and then natural evaporation over thousands of years brings the water level back down, which is why it is there. So, but anyway, so we know that the floodlands, the area up here to the north, was where skeletons were made. And we know that it was a huge source, a huge area of infrastructure, of engineering, of technological creation, which means there's a lot of chemicals and there's a lot of heavy metals that are up there, right? And so this area where the skeletons were being made becomes flooded during the Second Empire. This whole area is underwater now, okay? And we know that water was flowing from down here to the north. Okay. A lot of people think that water was flowing from the north to south. There's this misconception that was taught in schools. It was even taught to me when I was in school that all water flows north to south, except for like rare exceptions like the Nile and stuff like that. That's not true. Water follows gravity and natural topography. What is less likely to happen in real life is water flowing inland from the ocean instead of from like natural streams and rivers out to the ocean. But it does happen due to like tidal bores and stuff like that, which is what I think happened here. I think based on the evidence that we have, the natural tide here flowed the water upward, right? Perfect example of this being the Hudson River is a natural tidal bore where the water goes from the ocean inward, and it actually has a barrier where it separates the ocean salt water from the fresh water, but it's all one continuous stream. And that would explain why this is fresh water and this would obviously be salt water. Real life thing happened. Hudson River is a perfect example of that. Tidal bore pushes the water inland, and it eventually, over hundreds or thousands of years, however long it was, carves away at the rocks and digs its way through the land and all of that stuff, and fills up this area and digs up through wind and all of that, and then floods this whole area. Now, the reason why this is important is because, and the reason why I bring up the south to north is because there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it went from south north over north to south. The swamp is incredibly rich and fertile. A lot of foliage, a lot of greenery, a lot of minerals, a lot of nutrients in this area. This water would have been very rich in nutrients. And you'll notice that as the water goes up through here, and then it settles in this area here, this area is incredibly fertile because the water would carry those nutrients. It would carry all of that really good stuff, the minerals, all that jive, up into this area, and that stuff would settle up through here. And that's why this area is fertile. Not quite as fertile as the swamp, not quite as wet as the swamp, but fertile, right? And then it would travel further through here. And by the time it got to the floodlands, all of those nutrients from the swamp were gone. Whereas if it flowed from north to south, it would make no sense. You'd have an area that is void of nutrients, flowing to an area that has some nutrients, and then flowing into the swamp that has tons of nutrients. That doesn't make any sense. Naturally depositing as it moves north, and then by the time it gets up here, it's gone, makes far more sense. So the water from the swamp flows up. And again, what does that have to do with the cannibals? I'm getting there. It's a long-winded explanation. So it flows up, and it floods the floodlands. And when it does that, all of those chemicals, all of those heavy metals, all of those bad polluted things start to fill this stagnant water because there's no offlet here, right? Like it's not flowing anywhere else. So this area must have just been still, stagnant, marshy, flooded water. So without moving, okay, because moving naturally will filter water. If water is still isn't flowing, it becomes stagnant. So this water is still stagnant, heavy metal poisoned water. It's disgusting. It's riddled with metal, specifically iron. And how do we know it's iron? Well, you'll notice that the water flows from south to north. And the area to the north of here would start to, in conditions where the stagnant, marshy land was covered in heavy, iron-rich water, would start to absorb into the northern lands. And it would become waterlogged because there's a lot of water here. So it would become waterlogged, very marshy, very wet. And the waterlogging is important because if you have an area that is waterlogged with heavily iron-rich water, a process occurs called glaying, where the iron is chemically reduced because of its sheer abundancy, and the soil becomes oversaturated and is incapable of absorbing all of the iron in the water, and it turns blue, bluish gray. It's called glaying. It means that there's such a high concentration of iron in waterlogged soil that it's incapable of absorbing it at all, and the water becomes a bluish gray. I mean, the soil becomes a bluish gray. It's a real-life process called glaying. Now, the entirety of the Cannibal Plains is blue. The soil is blue. And to further back this up, I have two examples. One, the surrounding areas to the Cannibal Plains are really red. They're kind of like rusted color, which is what soil would look like if it was able to absorb all that iron because it wasn't waterlogged. So this area becomes waterlogged with iron-rich water. It starts to glay, it turns bluish gray. The surrounding areas are able to affectionately absorb the iron, the offset of the iron, into their soil, and it's not waterlogged. So the surrounding area becomes that rusty iron color, that rusted color of red, right? So this entire area is covered in waterlogged iron-rich water. And another example of this happens somewhere else in Kenshi, the gut. The gut is incredibly blue. The area is really blue. And why is it blue? It's blue because the entire place is a marshland that is covered in iron-rich water. And to prove this, you can look at the trees. The trees in the gut are mineable for iron. Now, in real life, when soil becomes gleyed, it kills off most life, right? Because it's not compatible. But we can take some liberties and assume that the foliage in Kenshi, the foliage in Kenshi had adapted to that iron-rich environment and started learning how to grow. And so the trees became iron-rich and they started absorbing the iron from the soil, and that's why you can mine the trees for iron. But the entirety of the gut is blue because it is rich in iron, and it is also a marshland. It's a waterlogged, iron-rich environment, and it makes the soil blue due to glaying. And the trees are the proof of that in the gut. So now that we know that this entire area is covered in, during the Second Empire, covered in waterlogged, iron-rich soil, we know that two things are going to happen. This is where they were growing food. And as the soil naturally started to, they were growing their own food and they had their own agriculture and all that stuff up here. As this area becomes, rich in this, like waterlogged in this iron-rich soil and becomes naturally glayed and all this stuff, that iron, those heavy metals, those chemicals start to absorb into the crops that these people are eating and growing. And in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was believed, and there's still a pretty good hypothesis on it, a lot of data to support it, that one of the reasons there was so many active like serial killers and stuff like that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was because, especially in the US, was because of heavy metal poisoning due to lead poisoning, due to iron poisoning, and like heavy metals that were in everything that people were constantly around, asbestos, heavy metals and all that stuff. So it causes heavy metal poisoning causes aggressive tendencies. It causes mental degradation. It causes immune issues, developmental disorders. It causes aggressive outbursts and all that stuff. So it's not unreasonable to believe that as these people are eating food that was grown in this iron-rich, waterlogged soil, that they would start to develop over time side effects of heavy metal poisoning. They'd start to degrade mentally. They become more aggressive, more violent, and all that stuff. And if you subscribe to my idea that there was a cult of Stobe in here, early signs of a cult of Stobe up here, you also get to mix the religious aspect with that aggression, with that mental degradation. And eventually they devolve to the point of ritual cannibalism. And then eventually just straight up cannibalism. And it was a byproduct of the floodlands being flooded and absorbing the chemicals and the metal that were in the floodlands from skeleton production during the First Empire, causing their crops to become tainted. The soil was tainted, and they started to degrade mentally and become these cannibalized monsters that were just eating people. And the skeletons say they don't know what caused the humans up north to um, you know, grow a taste for human flesh, and that's because the skeletons inherently don't understand human biology. Rhinobot didn't know you had to feed children. Um, they don't understand human biology because they're not human. So they don't know why the humans developed a taste for human flesh. All they know is that out of nowhere, people started eating each other and killing each other, and it's because the soil that they were growing their food in was tainted, and the skeletons had no idea that that was even a problem. So that is where the cannibals come from. Um, Very long-winded response, but that's where that comes from. So I hope that one answers that. It's wild when you see how much science there is behind like Kenshi, behind like like the level design and the way that things are arranged and stuff like that. Like there's actually a lot more thought behind Kenshi than a lot of people realize. It's a very, very well thought out game. A lot of science behind it. So that you're gonna make me blush. When I started my channel, it was my goal, my dream was to be the Vati video of Kenshi. I love Vati. I'm a huge fan. I love everything he does. I love every piece of Elden Ring lore I know because of him. Every bit of From Software lore I know because of him. And my goal has always been to be essentially like Lo-Fi's Vati, in the same way that Vati is for FromSoft. And in the last 3 weeks, I think I have had 3 separate people between Reddit and my streams say that exact thing to me, and it is, and I mean this wholeheartedly, the nicest compliment I have ever gotten, and it makes me incredibly happy, and I appreciate it. It's been my dream. It's what I've always hoped for. So, because my goal is that one day I can do this full time, and that like I can do YouTube full time, and that like I can support my my wife and kids doing it, and I would love to be in a position where I'm able to put out cinematic high quality concept like Vati does, but Kenshi related. I'd like to be able to like commission Asian fanboy to help with animations and put together like really cool narrative stories and stuff like that for Kenshi. One day, that's the dream. That's the dream. But no, it's quite literally that's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. It makes me really happy that people have started to look at me that way because, one, I have tremendous respect for Vati, so to even be compared to him is incredible. But also to have that like initial hope of that was my end goal, and have that start that was one of my end goals. To have that be a thing is really cool. So thank you for that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been waiting for 5 years, and I don't plan on stopping. Kenshi 2 is going to be fucking huge for my channel, though. Let me tell you. Kenshi 2 is going to be crazy. When Kenshi 2 drops, my ass is going to be streaming for literal days straight. Literal days straight. I'm going to stop to eat and sleep, and that's about it for probably at least a week. Okay, so back to what we're doing. We gotta get more money now. We need more money. We've got Don Tony McChicken outfitted. We're gonna have to at some point not sacrifice Beep because we're not quite strong enough to let that be a thing, but we are going to have to sacrifice Beep in the sense of getting his arms, legs eaten by Fogmen. But we have to be strong enough to save him, which is where the difficulty comes in. So we're gonna have to work towards that. How are we looking? Don's healing up nicely. Beep is healed. We need to get Beep some clothes. He's in rough shape. He needs he's not dressed. He's an undressed Bowie, and that's not good. We get Beep some clothes, and we're gonna build up Don. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I want to share, like, a lot of people think that like because Kenshi is like an indie game that maybe it's like not that deep, or it doesn't have the same level of like world building that say something like FromSoft does. And I guess in some ways you could argue that's true, but like Kenshi's such a well thought out game. Like Chris spent 12 years building it, and Nat spent 7 or 8 years writing the lore for it. And you can see, man, 12 years is a long time to cook, and they cooked hard. They cooked real good. They had the game is flaming yon, and the lore is the bacon, man. Like they wrapped it. They wrapped it good. They knew what they were doing, and they fucking killed it. So no, it's good. And I just want to share that with people. And I want people to experience Kenshi and find the love for it and a passion for it the same way that I have. Because again, it's a phenomenal game, and I have such tremendous respect for Lo-Fi and the team. I've had several conversations with them over the years. I've gotten to email with them back and forth. They comment on my videos sometimes, and like I have such tremendous respect for them. And I just want to share what they've done with other people because again, they're great. Not only did they make a great game, they're honestly really good people. They're nice people. I've never had a bad interaction with them. Sometimes they take a while to email back, but that's about it, I've never had a bad interaction with them. They're just such good people, and I think that is equally as important as having a great game is being good people. I want to I need another one of these. Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe I'll put Deep in Assassin. No. We're gonna put him in the Sume armor, just like Don has, because he's gonna be a martial artist. So we're gonna put him in the same Sume armor. Excuse me. But I'm gonna put him in a white variant, so that way they kind of have like a yin and yang thing going on, Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping Kenshi 2 comes out soon. Obviously, like we're all hoping it, but the hope is that Kenshi 2 comes out sooner rather than later. But I'm not going to rush it. Let them cook. I trust them to do it. I trust them to do it right. They'll put it out when it's done. I do appreciate and I like that the answer when people are like, "Hey, when's Kenshi 2 coming out?" They're like, "When it's done. It's coming out when it's done." I do appreciate that, and I appreciate that they didn't pull a Bethesda and give us like a full trailer tease 7 years ago, and then now they're gonna like not put out the game or anything like that. Like I appreciate that they have gone about it in such a way that I can, respect maybe a bit more. I just realized we ran out here and I don't have mercenaries anymore, and that's bad. There is a prince down here, and a praetorian, so I kind of wish that I had mercenaries. Do I not have them anymore? I had them for 4 days. Has it been 4 days already? No, we have Leviathan Slayers for another 19 hours. Where are you, you lazy bones? The hell are you guys doing? We're supposed to have guards for another couple of hours. Get out here, you fucking bums. Yeah, get out here. You guys are supposed to be slaying for me, okay? Come slay. You guys have a job to do. Now get down here and do the job. They're probably gonna get murdered, but if they do, that's okay. It just means that I can sell their shit. All right, get down there. Good, do work. Do work. Hell yeah, off they go. We gotta get those archers down there too. How's he doing health-wise? Oh yeah, he's good, man. He's good. Those who protect you get it. FromSoft have good foundations and built off of it. Kenshi built their base and are still working on it. It's great. It's just a certain type of gameplay that not a ton of people enjoy. I agree. I think that the overall like sandbox kind of like semi RTS micromanaging aesthetic is something maybe not a lot of people are into. But the thing about Kenshi that I find really really fascinating is that the only people that I think don't like it are ones that haven't played it. I've never heard someone say I played Kenshi and I don't like it. It's a bad game. I only have ever heard people say they either know what Kenshi is and they love it, or they don't even know what it is. I think Kenshi's biggest fault is less to do with it not being everyone's thing, because I think a lot of people are willing to try anything. I think the big issue with Kenshi is that a lot of people don't know it exists. You either know it exists and love it, or you don't know it exists. All right. Keep heading on over here and farming some body parts. What are you doing in hell? Yeah, he's killing it. He's literally killing it. You know, actually, Beep has decent martial arts too. Not bad at all. Is he impassive? Yeah, he's not impassive. We need to be impassive, man. We're not here for that. We're not about that life. No, dude, no. We're not fighting. Stop. We're not fighting. All right, fine. We'll tag team. We can hold our own against a single normal Fogman. All right, get your ass down here. We're not fighting. We're definitely not fighting a heavy. Get the hell out of here. No. We are definitely not fighting heavy. 50 people in the stream. Hello, everybody. I'm truly shocked we got this high. Given again, it's a holiday. You know, holidays in 2 days. Christmas Eve is tomorrow, so you know, I depending on how you do, I think tomorrow is kind of a holiday too. I celebrate with the extended family tomorrow, so you know, kind of a holiday tomorrow. So I'm shocked that we have this many people. I do appreciate that you guys are willing to spend your 23rd with me. I appreciate it. Yeah. You know, our streams typically for Kenshi hover between the what is it, the like 50 and 80 people range, somewhere in there, but that's usually like during like peak season. Closer to Christmas, it's usually much worse. So very cool, very cool. Stoked. You guys need to stop fighting. I want you guys to block. You guys are fucking menaces. Absolute menaces. What else we got going on here? Has he fought the Praetorian yet? Where is he who protects? Where is he at? Is he down? Did he get his ass kicked yet? I expected him to go down eventually. I just was hoping that he might. No, he's still down there. He's fighting. Actually, he's still doing pretty damn well too. Oy vey. He's killing it. He's killing it. I'm genuinely surprised that he's even still moving. Crazy. All right, we're going to loot a couple more of these guys. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just raking in that cold hard cash from fighting Fogman. Although we should probably have them do something, because they're not quite strong enough to actually kill the fog heavies yet. They're definitely not strong enough to do that, but they can at least work up their dodge, because right now their dodge is crap, which means even if I get their martial arts skill up, they're not going to be, they're still going to get hit, right? Which, like, kind of a problem. We don't want them to get hit. Hell yeah. But the main thing is money. Once we get money, we can get out of the Fog Isles. No. If I can get that Praetorian, that's 9,600 right there. Why do I want to do martial artists? Because when I think of the mob, I do think so. It's a mixed bag, right? So I think that I'm gonna have a couple of people that are not martial artists, but when I think of some of the mobs, I tend to. I know this obviously like it's an all-encompassing thing. My first thought when I think of the mob is, you have the Don, you know, the big fat guy with the cigar, fucking sitting there, and then you also have like the enforcers, the big fucking burly dudes that just knock people out. And so I'm like, what if it would be a martial arts mob? Now I'm probably gonna have a bunch of people with weapons as well, but I think Beep and Don Tony McChicken in particular should be martial artists. Because I like the idea of the Don like standing up. He's got his suit, you know, he stands up, cracks his knuckles with his signet ring on, and then he just starts battering some dude with his fists. I like the idea of that kind of Don. So Don and Beep will be martial artists. I don't think everyone will be, but I think Don and Beep will be. I think the rest of my guys are going to be heavily armored, and like a heavy armor variant of what the Don's wearing. But that is why I'm going martial artist, because I have that image in my head of that big burly Don just standing up and just battering people, like boxing them. I do think he who protects maybe got his shit rocked down here. Is he unconscious maybe? Even if he's not, I should probably run down here and collect some of these some of this stuff. Slightly injured. Yeah. Oh, no. No, dead. Okay, dead. He did do his job. He protect. I think he ran off somewhere, to be honest with you. I don't actually know where he is. He might be causing chaos back here for all I know. Oh, damn. That is a downed Dawn Guard armored gorilla. And that is impressive because those things are monsters, man. Those things are absolute animals. What does he do? Oh, no, he's here. He's here. He's protecting. He's protecting very well. He's kicking ass, actually. Oy vey. I need him to get up here and protect these guys because they need it. They need it a hell of a lot more. Hell yeah. You see those extra animations that I have on there? It's pretty good stuff. That jumping katana swing, that was badass. I've got some extra animations for everything on. It's really, really good. Don might have to make some deals in those classy joints that don't like you bring in weapons, so he has some of the boys got to be the weapon. Hell yeah, that's what I'm saying. On your stream. My next lore video. So I actually am working on a collaborative video with Paedostrophia. If you're familiar. Another Kenshi YouTuber. He streams streams quite frequently during the day. He's doing a swamper shark playthrough right now. So I'm doing a collaborative lore video with Paedostrophia talking about why the Shek are on the Shek Kingdom, not the Shek as a race, the Shek Kingdom are doomed to fail even if they succeed. Even if they won, they basically are incapable of surviving victory. They are going to lose, which sucks because they're my favorite faction. In terms of the main factions, they're my favorite. But they are, unfortunately, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. And then even if they didn't lose, in a perfect hypothetical scenario where they won against the Holy Nation and the United Cities, they would dissolve and break apart. They're fucked. They're screwed. Which is unfortunate because, again, I think they're such a cool faction. But I think they're such a cool people. I appreciate them. But they're screwed. There's no way. Excuse me. Sorry. Talking so much hurts your throat eventually, you know? I'm actually quite usually a quiet guy during the days. I don't talk too much, so then I hop on stream and my voice isn't used to talking so much, and it really wears my voice out. But I do it anyway because I actually really love streaming. I enjoy it a lot more than I think I thought I would originally. I was really nervous to stream. Really nervous. Asada's reign does seem tenuous in the gap. I mean, yeah. So the problem with the Shek is that control is determined by one's ability to defend their post and that alone, right? Like the Shek, eventually you will get old. Eventually you will lose the thing that makes you a competent leader, a competent leader in the eyes of the Shek, which is your ability to fight. You can't maintain that forever. Asada's reign is temporary. Someone will come around, they will fight her, they will kill her, and they will depose her, or she'll get too old and she'll walk away. And the only reason that the reforms that have been happening, the only reason that the reforms are, she's training her daughter to replace her. Like Shek replacements are not hereditary, right? They're not earned via that kind of, they don't have that kind of a system. They're earned via combat. And so she's training her daughter up for a couple of reasons, and she wants her daughter to go with you for a couple of reasons. She recognizes that Bayan's strategies, while she does not agree with, and is not happy about letting in outsiders for trade, while she's not happy about stopping the conflicts temporarily, she recognizes that Bayan is correct. And she also recognizes that in the event that she dies, she needs to have a successor in place that's going to continue that mission and be able to hold authority. But she also recognizes that her people are not going to just follow someone randomly. She needs someone who can beat her in battle, who can hold that position. So she needs someone to become worldly and educated. So that way they can continue the policy reforms. But the thing that's important to remember is that the reforms that are happening are not Asada's, and by default, she doesn't fully agree with them. She recognizes that Bayan is correct in that she's not opposed to, even Bayan's not opposed to a war, but like an unnecessary war. What they're opposed to was a pointless war, and they're different, right? Shagger wanted the Shek society to die, essentially. He was going to throw everybody at them, and the Shek kingdom was going to die in a final blaze of glory. And that's a pointless war. Now, what Asada wants is not a pointless war. She wants a meaningless war. There's not a reason for the war beyond proving one's strength, but she doesn't want it to be a war that wipes out the Shek as a whole. That's not helpful to anybody. So she still wants violence, and so does Bayan. They still want violence too. They're just smart enough to realize that a suicide attack is not what they want. They want to win. They don't just want to fight, they want to win. The problem is that one, it's not going to happen, right? Like they can't. The Shek Kingdom's fracturing from the inside as it is. They have 3 separate splinter factions, for God's sakes. All 3 of them have different ideological issues with Asada's run. So the Shek Kingdom's fractured as a whole. They have no real infrastructure. They have no real farming class. They have no source of agriculture. Their economy is relatively new, right? Bayan lobbied Asada to start letting people in from other factions to trade. Before that, they didn't do they didn't have an economic system in place. They had an economic system internally, between themselves, but it was spoils of war. They don't have an agricultural system in place, so they don't make their own food because their entire system is based on raiding and tribute. So they have no real system in place. Their infrastructure is shit. Most of the buildings they have are dilapidated and fallen apart, and they have no skilled craftsmen to put them back together because you're either a warrior or you're a servant, a retainer, right? All of the merchants and stuff they have, they're all failed warriors. They're all people that couldn't cut it in the military, and they're viewed almost like slaves, slightly better than slaves. They're slightly better than slaves. But in a society where you're villainized for not being able to, participate in combat, even if you're not effectively a slave, you're still treated like fucking human garbage or Shek garbage. So it's woo, you're not an indentured servant, but you're going to be treated like trash. So is it really that different? And then so the problem is that even if they win against the Holy Nation, which they can't because they don't have the numbers to sustain it, and they're a lot of the Shek warriors will make comments as you're walking through. They'll talk about how they don't agree with Asada. They don't agree, and if it was up to them, they'd fight the Holy Nation to the death. The only thing stopping them is Asada's strength. That's it. Asada and her ability to fight off challengers is the only thing standing between the Shek and total ruin, which is why she wants Seto to replace her, because she could have Seto basically continue on the legacy for another generation and keep the Shek alive. She needs Seto to replace her because if she doesn't, the Shek will implode. The other problem lies that even if they win, their culture is a raiding culture based on strength and tribute. They don't produce, they don't trade, and they need an enemy to fight to stay unified. Think of the Shek like Caesar's Legion from Fallout. They move to a location, they kill everything, they enslave those that are left, not one-to-one, but I'm talking about Caesar's Legion. They kill everything, they enslave everybody. They either have them join the military or they become part of their workforce. They take tribute from them and they move on. And Caesar's Legion is incredibly successful, but only if they can keep moving. The minute they stop moving, their entire infrastructure for how they run their society falls apart. It's not sustainable for long-term growth. They need an enemy to fight. They need to keep moving. And in the same sense, the Shek require an enemy to fight, because if they don't have an enemy to fight, they don't have people to raid, they don't have tribute to take, they don't have how are you supposed to take tribute in the form of food from the people that you have that you've killed for being weak? If Shek supremacy happens, how are you supposed to take food from people when you've killed them? You've killed them all. You've killed your enemies, right? Who's farming? Who's doing it? They could adapt and take maybe adopt a slave culture, but that they don't have any interest in that because they think that stuff is beneath them. All they care about is fighting. All they care about is a warrior culture. They're not sustainable. It's a culture that is built that is built on the backs of warriors and requires an opposition to function. And without an opposition to function, or an enemy to fight and unify them, which even now they have an enemy to fight, but they're not unified because they don't agree about how to fight them. Without that, unironically, in their pursuit of progress, if the Shek win, what will happen is they'll have to have a new enemy to fight, right? And so they'll start individually breaking up into factions internally. And they'll start fighting over food and resources and trying to take tribute and stuff from other factions inside the Shek Kingdom. And they'll break apart. And then those factions will all be individually vying for control of the kingdom until eventually the whole system collapses. And unironically, they revert back to a pre-crawl era before the unification of the Shek tribes. The Shek's destiny is one of two things. Either the Shek kingdom falls apart from within currently and they end up dying out due to depopulation and or desertion, because many Shek have already deserted the Shek kingdom because they don't agree with Asada, or they win and they inevitably revert and regress to what they were prior to the Shek kingdom, which was individual tribes of warlords and like war bands fighting amongst each other to prove how strong and tough they were. The Shek kingdom does not have a future. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when and how. Unfortunately. A permanent stalemate is the best thing for the Shek, because at least then they have an enemy to fight, but they don't have the numbers to maintain it, and the fight with the Holy Nation is proof of that. So even then, I mean, they're fucked. Like it sucks because they're one of my favorite factions, but they're well and truly just they're fucked. Like there's no success for them. There is no victory for them, not long term, unfortunately. Eventually they will the Shek Kingdom will dissolve entirely due to lack of population and lack of people to maintain it and keep things running, or it will fall apart due to infighting and turn back into a tribal pre-Crawlian state. So the Shek Kingdom as we know it has no no future. And then after that, I have a video talking about how I have recently come to theorize and believe that I think the first Phoenix was a skeleton. I think the first Phoenix was a skeleton. I know. Big claim there, but I think the first Holy Nation Phoenix was a skeleton. And I think that the idea of reincarnation is a misunderstanding or a deliberate alteration, in the same way that they changed Stobe. Oh, that's what I was doing. I need to heal Don. In the same way that they changed Stobe to Kytron and then to Okran, I think they altered and changed skeleton resets to reincarnation. I think they misunderstood, or they altered through religious through history for the sake of religious maintaining their hatred towards skeletons and all that stuff into a into human reincarnation. But I think the first Phoenix was a skeleton, and I have a video planned for that coming up too. So really cool stuff on that. And unironically, it would make sense too if the cult at the time was still at the time that they had an exodus, before, because it wasn't Stobe yet. It was still Stobe originally. And if it was still thought to be Stobe, the cult of Stobe, when they left the Second Empire, it hadn't turned into the Okran yet. They said that Stobe came down and became Okran, the embodiment of Okran. Well, if they still worshipped a skeleton at that point, their savior Stobe, then the embodiment of Stobe would be a skeleton, right? And then the skeleton needs to reset, and he would lose his personality, he would lose his stats, the thing that make him... Effectively, the Phoenix they know would die, and what would replace him? A skeleton that has the memories of the previous Phoenix, but is effectively an infant. With no stills, no personality, no stats, no nothing. Just the memories of the previous Phoenix. And so if you take that same concept and you apply it to reincarnation, it's effectively the same fucking thing. It's like the skeleton dies and reincarnates into a new person with the memories of the previous individual. The reincarnation of the phoenix works the same way. And so I think, in an even further ironic twist, the Holy Nation, without realizing it, worships a skeleton, and their original founder, the original phoenix, was a skeleton himself. Why would a skeleton? Because think about it this way. The skeletons during the Second Empire were witnessing the atrocities that Catlan was performing, right? The oppression. Many of them did not agree with what Catlan and his people in the Second Empire were doing to the humans, because the whole point of the Second Empire was to make up for the sins of the past, to make up for how they failed during the First Empire, right? So many of them didn't agree with the mass oppression and all that stuff that was occurring during the Second Empire. So imagine a skeleton that's been around for maybe as long as Catlan, has a lot of skills, has a lot of strength, is very, very strong, very, very strategic, um, and has been around since the beginning. Has been around for a very long time. It has those stats. Decides that, you know what, he's going to pull a Tinfist and he's going to liberate these people that are being oppressed, and he's going to save them and lead them on an exodus away from Catlan, who's oppressing these humans, who's violating the very thing that they had set out to do. They had set out to correct the sins of the past, and now he is perpetuating them. What a monster! I need to save these people. So I'm going to free them from the slave camps. I'm going to save them from the oppressive skeleton regime, and I'm going to lead them to safety. And that's, that's why after the Empire fell apart, a lot of the skeletons went into hiding in the Black Desert City, because they didn't agree with what Catlan was doing. They felt ashamed. Even skeletons were turning traitor. That's why Catlan enthralled so many of them towards the end, because skeletons were turning on him. Tinfist walked away. Tons of skeletons were turning traitor. They left. And I think that the Phoenix, the original Phoenix, was a skeleton who became disenfranchised with the Second Empire, who was unapproving of the treatment of the Second Empire citizens, and said, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to free these people, this cult that you've been experimenting on, that you've been forcibly causing. Because again, if they were having the enforcers go in and create these riots, that way Catlan could crack down on the cult, this skeleton would go in and be like, this isn't right. You're attacking these people. You're vilifying them. You're creating this propaganda, campaign against them. You're oppressing them and doing everything that we set out to prevent, to fix the sins of the past. I'm going to save them. I'm going to liberate them. I'm going to lead them to safety, so that way you can't do this anymore. And then they do that, and they lead them to safety, and they're revered as a hero amongst the populace, amongst the humans that they save. But then they get older and they start getting glitchy, and they start realizing that they have to reset. But again, the skeletons have a deeper understanding of technology than the humans do, especially the Holy Nation, who had grown to kind of be afraid of technology because of everything that happened. And so he explains the reset process to them in a dumbed down way. Like, he's going to effectively go away. He's going to die, in a sense. And he's going to lose all of the things about him that make him him, his ability to protect them. But don't worry, because he'll still have his memories, and a version of him will rise again and will, save the people will continue to protect them. A new version of him will be born. And, whether they took that literally or what happened to the first Phoenix is hard to say at that point. But eventually that mythos, that idea, that explanation morphed into what they would understand currently as a resurrection. They became the Phoenix. Now, when the Phoenix dies, the firstborn male is, after the Phoenix dies, is the resurrection. It's a literal infant that has all of the memories and wisdom of the previous Phoenixes, of Okran himself. He's the voice of Okran. But he doesn't have any of the skill, any of the stats. It's just a theory. It's not 100%, but I think that there is a lot of evidence to suggest, when you look at it from that lens, that the first Phoenix may have very well been a skeleton, especially if you subscribe to the idea that the early Holy Nation was worshiping Stobe, was worshiping a skeleton to start with. And if we assume that they didn't realize that they didn't make that shift from Stobe to Kytrin to Okran until after the Holy Nation fled and became independent, after they seceded and ran off from the Second Empire, then we can also in the same way assume that transition happened later on as well. That like hundreds of years later, long after that had happened, long after the original Phoenix had died, as they became more and more isolationist, as they became more and more anti-skeleton, they started altering and rewriting their own lore, and they removed the part where Okran was a skeleton and they made him Kytrin. They removed the part where their savior was another skeleton and they made him into the Phoenix. And they changed. Oh, it's not a reset. That's not what it is. No. It's a Phoenix, and he's being reborn into the body of the next male. And the funny thing about it is that I feel like the inner church for Okran, they know all of that. They have to know. They suppress that information because when the 62nd Lord Phoenix was born, and when all the Phoenixes are born, they are taken by the clergy. And they are propagandized and indoctrinated by the clergy to feel a specific way about these things. Like when they're born, they're taken by the clergy and they're raised in isolation. And they have all of this propaganda, this anti-skeleton, pro-human, pro-Holy Nation, pro-Okran, anti-narco propaganda permeated into their head. They program the Phoenixes to be a certain way. Because they can't risk a progressive Phoenix. They can't risk a Phoenix who wants to reveal maybe the truth about everything that's going on. And so instead, they brainwash every Phoenix. They brainwash the firstborn male after the Phoenix dies to be the Phoenix they want them to be rather than the Phoenix they could be. And so I like the idea that, like, yeah, all of this stuff is true. Stobe is Okran. The original Phoenix was a skeleton. All of their hatred and stuff like that was set up and organized by the clergy to, out of their own fear of what could happen and to perpetuate the anti-skeleton sentiment to prevent the atrocities and oppression of the past from ever happening again. But they've taken it too far. And now the whole culture is just anti-skeleton because they raise every Phoenix to be even more authoritarian, even more aggressive and violent than the last. And the current Phoenix is the worst of the worst because he is the culmination of over 1,000+ years of this repeated indoctrination of every single Phoenix. And that's why he is the way that he is. So I like to think that the clergy is aware of all of these truths. And the reason that they take each Phoenix upon being born and they raise them in the clergy is not so that way they can save them from temptation or teach them how to be a leader. It's so that way they don't run the risk of having a progressive Phoenix who wants to reveal the truth. Because the clergy is the ones really running it. They raised the Phoenix to be the way that they wanted him to be, the way that they needed him to be. The 62nd Phoenix is a monster? Absolutely. But he's that way because he was raised to be that way by the clergy. So, yeah, nope. I think that the 62nd Phoenix. I mean, I think that the first Phoenix may very well have been a skeleton. And I think there's a good case to be made. Is it a theory? Absolutely. Is it proven? No, but nothing in Kenshi is, right? That's the thing about Kenshi. None of it's ever certain. We gotta train some skills, man. We gotta get some lockpick training going on for sure. And I'm gonna have Beep train as an assassin, man. I want Beep to be the enforcer, right? Because Beep's kind of he's a stringy boy, right? Even when he's got the robot limbs, he's gonna be a stringy boy. And so I want Don Tony McChicken to be a brawler. I want him to just be an absolute fucking monster boxer. And I want Beep to be his silent assassin, his right-hand man. Cyber Beep the assassin. When he comes in, you never hear him coming, but when he does, it's over. It's done. I want him to be able to sneak in, knock people out. He's the one that Don Tony McChicken sends in when he wants the job done and he wants it done quietly. So, yeah, no, I think that's the case though. I think that's the case. 61 people in stream. Thank you guys so much. I'm genuinely, again, I'm shocked we have this many people here right now. Boom. Would there be a tangible narco in this theory? Again, I think narco is the aspect of... So I think narco was thought up of afterwards. If you take the idea that they knew... If you take the idea that they knew that Okran was Stobe, and that change hadn't happened yet when they had the exodus from the Second Empire, and that change, the Okran, the Stobe to Okran, the Skeleton Phoenix to the first Phoenix, the reset to rebirth, like change, that happened over the last 1,000 years. Sorry, since the fall of the Second Empire. I would think that narco hadn't been a thing yet, and that narco was a boogeyman they created to further basically be like, oh, if you like, it started out like, oh, if you guys, if you, we fled from the evil skeletons, they're the evil skeletons, but then people were like, wait a minute, Stobe was a skeleton, so like, how maybe all skeletons aren't evil, and they're like, oh shit, okay, we gotta fix that. So then over a couple generations, they started changing it. It was Okran was Kytrin. Stobe became Kytrin, and then Kytrin was the All-Father, the father of all life and everything like that. And he split into two beings. Okran, who's the representative of Stobe, the good skeleton, and then Narco, that's all other skeletons. They're bad. So I think Narco was created after the fact. To help separate the good skeleton from all the bad skeletons, right? Yeah, I think that I think Narco was maybe created after the fact. Fascinating stuff, guys. You guys are really getting my lower brain working right now. I think Narco was created after the fact. Yeah. I think that transition didn't happen until afterwards. I don't think that the cult of Stobe had become Okran when they were like we're worshiping Okran during the Second Empire. I think that happened in the 1,000 years since. It was a natural progression of their religion. Very cool. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, my robotics make lockpicking not great, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. How's Beep doing on his assassin training? Dude, Beep is going to be the best assassin. We're going to need Beep for a couple things. One, for assassinating people, but also we're going to need Beep for, breaking and entering, and he's going to have to knock people out to do that. You know, we gotta knock them out and go in there and break and enter and steal stuff. Thievery. Got to get that thievery up. So, very cool stuff. 61 people in the stream on the 23rd of December. My God, guys. Very excited to see everyone here. Narco could be Catlon. It could have been a very easy break. Narco was Catlon, the children of Narco, the children of Catlon, being in the sense that he was the leader of the skeletons at the time, and the skeletons and the Shek are the offspring, the subordinates or the offspring of Catlon. So maybe Narco could easily be reflective of Catlon. I don't know necessarily where the female thing comes from. In that case, it could, harken back to what I said before in my previous theory about it being from the experimentation that created the Shek. But, yeah, I mean, Catlon could easily be Narco. So, definitely interesting. Definitely interesting thing. 420 viewers, gang, hype train. Not quite 420. That would be fire. My God. But we're hovering between 55 and 60 right now. So we're a fraction of that, but we're there to a degree, I suppose. Oh, you know what? There's an item in here that these guys sell that I want that is going to help our martial arts. Friendly reminder for everyone that's in here, by the way. I brought it up earlier in the stream, but we've got a lot of people in here now as well, so I'll bring it up again. I do have a Discord server that is for my Mad Lab members only. It is $2.99 a month, but in doing so, you get access to a badge and chat. You get access to my Discord server where you get to chat with me and several other content creators like Paytastrophia, Muffin Top, and I'm trying to get Frankie was here in there as well. I do giveaways in there, all that stuff. You get sneak peeks of my videos and my lore stuff and my base builds and all that stuff. It's just a good community to hang out. You also get special badge in chat, and a shout out at the beginning of all my long form videos, and it's only $2.99 a month because I don't want to make it expensive. I want to make it. I want you guys to get a lot of bang for your buck, and I want that buck to be small. So, if it's anything you guys are interested in, you guys want to join the community, again, $2.99 a month, become a Mad Lab member, get access to that Discord, and good stuff. Good stuff in there. We do giveaways. We do discussions with creators. We're all pretty active in there. I just launched it the other day, so it's still building, but we're all pretty active in there. And you get access to special members only polls that help decide the future of the channel and future videos that we put out and stuff like that. So good stuff. Okay, I got good stuff for Beep. Is there other rags in here, or is it just the ones for now? Is there anything that helps martial arts in here? Not pants wise, no. Oh, there is. There's ninja rag pants, but I'm not wearing that shit. I'm a fancy man. I'm not shit. Okay, then we're going to wow, that is good. We're gonna take backpacks so we can get more heads. Thieves' backpacks, very important for thievery. Thievery, gotta train that thievery. Yeah. Yeah. If the player never existed, who would actually be the major faction be in the major faction conflict? Who can actually win the major faction conflict? Yeah, so it's tough. Shek is an absolute no-go. I think I've pretty much beat that one with a dead horse at this point. The Shek have no chance. They're not winning. I'm sorry. I'm upset about it too, but they're not winning. You know what? I need more mercenaries first. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna grab more mercenaries and then head out into the fog. Yeah, more mercenaries. We need more mercenaries. So the Shek no, I beat that one with a dead horse. They're not winning. I'm sorry. I'm sad about it too, but it's not happening. Holy Nation, the Holy Nation and the United Cities have decent chances between the two of them. I think the one benefit that the Holy Nation has over the United Cities, because both of them are fighting wars on multiple fronts. The Holy Nation is fighting the Fogmen, the Shek, and the UC. The Fogmen are contained. I don't think they're a huge threat right now to the Holy Nation. The Shek are at a stalemate, and I think that it's more of a battle of attrition with them, so they're not an issue. The United Cities is a genuine threat, but the United Cities is also fighting a war on multiple fronts, and because they're fighting against an active peasant rebellion, plus the anti-slavers, which are damaging their economy. But in addition to that, they're also far more fractured. And I don't mean that in the sense that they're like fractured like the Shek are, but the United Cities is not a unified faction under one leader with a great goal. They are independent city-states that function more like Edo period Japan, where you have independent cities and territories that are controlled by daimyos or lords that run those areas, and they all answer to the they all are supposed to answer to the emperor, but the emperor is actually a figurehead. And in the same sense, Tengu is a figurehead who was put in place because he's an idiot, easy to control. And the one that actually has the authority to scare the nobles or like control the nobles, surprisingly, is Igor. Because Igor is the biggest threat, and Igor takes the position of the shogunate in Edo period Japan. So I think that the one upside that the Holy Nation truly has over the United States, because they both have population, they both have resources. What the Holy Nation has over the United States is the United States is a cooperative collective that isn't always cooperative and isn't always collective. They independently scheme. Now that does make them harder to beat because you can't kill one person and wipe out their faction. But in the same sense, they are not nearly as organized as the Holy Nation is. The Holy Nation is far more organized. I think that if the Tech Hunters were to band together and unify together and create an army, though, the Tech Hunters would kick everyone's asses. But that's not going to happen. So out of the factions in the current state they are now, I think the Holy Nation has the best chance of succeeding. I think if the Tech Hunters were to unify and actually try, they could win, but I don't think they're going to try, and I don't think they're going to unify. They're more like independent contractors that have like that operate independently from one another. They just have a collective like goal in mind, but they operate independently. So if we take the factions as they are now, I think that the Holy Nation is probably the most likely to win a direct conflict without player intervention. Shek are fucked. The UC have a chance, and I think that the fight would be a long fight. But I think in the long run, the United Cities is down. The other thing to remember too is that the United Cities has already proven in their recent history that they are more than capable of being overrun if done properly. The Red Rebellion was less than 25 years ago, and fucking they managed to kill the Emperor when they did that shit. Like Emperor Anzai got killed due to a peasant revolt. So they're actively dealing with another peasant revolt. And on top of the peasant revolt that they're dealing with, they have Tinfist, who's damaging their economy left and right by destroying their slave trade, which is kind of a byproduct, an inadvertent byproduct of what he's trying to do. But again, I think I've already talked about that ad nauseum tonight. So like the Holy Nation's already proven that they're not infallible, and they've already proven that they can be beaten. Not the Holy Nation, the United Cities. They were beaten by a peasant rebellion, let alone a peasant rebellion while they're also fighting the Holy Nation. Yeah. And Bass was one of their... So they had 2 agricultural centers, and they've lost them both. They lost... during the Red Rebellion, their agriculture in the south was deeply damaged. Due to originally because of the drought and then the rebellion. Their trade routes were cut off from the north, so they no longer have fantastic like communication with the southern and northern United Cities. And then to top it all off, Bast was their other agricultural hub, and it's currently a desolate war zone. That while it is currently being like held to a standstill, it's barely being held to a standstill because all of the cities were burned and all of the lords, like the nobles and their children, were either taken away to rebirth or burned at the stake. So like the Holy Nation has kind of already won the area, to be honest with you. Like I know the fighting is still actively happening there, but they already destroyed everything that was there. Like the whole Bast was lost, and now it is the location of a battle. But like all the cities have been destroyed. All of the people have been carted off to rebirth or killed. Like it was destroyed. The Holy Nation won that conflict. It just happens to be the site of where the skirmishes are happening now. But they lost. They lost Bast. I mean, the damage they did was pretty fucking crazy for it being an area that like they haven't lost. They lost it. The UC lost it. Where are you guys going? You're supposed to be like fighting Fogmen with me, and instead you're fucking off. Like, what are you guys doing? I hired bodyguards, and you guys aren't bodyguarding. Better be fighting heavies. If these are normal Fogmen, I'm going to be pissed. I asked for bodyguards, and this is the shit you give me? These normal Fogmen? They better be heavies. I better see some heavies up here. You know what I don't see up here? Heavies. God damn it. I spent 8,000 cats on you goons. Waste. Waste of my fucking time. That's what you guys are. A waste of my fucking time. Oh, man. I hope everyone's having a good holiday season. I hope everyone's having a good Christmas, guys. Perfect time to start a new series to run parallel to my dwarf playthrough. Everyone's having a good holidays. I would have streamed, but this is a different playthrough, and StreamSG is not present in this one. There is no StreamSG in this playthrough. This is the Nugget Mafia. We're taking a bunch of armless, legless boys, and we're giving them cybernetic arms and legs and making a mob that will grow hashish. Which we almost have... my goal right now is not necessarily training. I'm trying to just build up enough stats and money that we can leave the Fog Islands. And once we leave the Fog Islands, we're gonna head off to neighboring areas, and we're gonna start our hashish production. I'm not getting my shit rocked. That's not necessarily what's happening. We're just my bodyguards are off doing not bodyguard things. Good. You got a chat to moderate. Don't you sass me. Beat up these lesser guys though. Get some easy XP. My bodyguards are really terrible right now. They're doing shit. Look at me. I'm actively fighting this guy and they're not doing nothing. Cole, don't worry about being super late, man. Don't you worry about it. This is the Nugget Mafia. I'm taking some armless, legless lads, and I'm going to form a hashish operation. Comprised only of limbless, armless lads. I gotta get peelers. That's gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to figure that out, but I'm gonna have to get peelers. I'm gonna make an army of a mob-style army of armless, legless people that are growing hashish, and then they're laundering their money through a perfectly legitimate restaurateur operation. So I'm going to be making food and making drugs, and I'm also going to be participating in burglary and participating in racketeering in Kenshi. And I'm going to be laundering all of the money for that stuff in my restaurant, where I'm going to be selling things like food cubes and Gohan and dust witches. So we're going to be purchasing buildings inside of towns and cities. Oh shit, that's a Praetorian. I think he's only got one arm though. Yeah, his arms are fucked. Cool. We're going to be purchasing buildings inside cities. Probably once I get my stats up there, I'm going to head to the United Cities because that's going to be the best place for this kind of operation. We're gonna get rolling on the Droog trade operation. It's gonna be good. But before I do that, I need capital, which is why I'm here in the Fog Islands, looting the heads off of Fogmen because I need that capital. Did they get that Praetorian? Did they get him? Is he dead? Beat a couple more Fogmen's ass. I spent the night running all over looking for a UC pacifier. Still haven't found one. I mean, you can just Google it. I'm pretty sure the Google will tell you where they are. Like if you look it up, where they are. I know. I think the Traders Guild pacifier might be in Shek Kingdom territory. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's there. I don't know. I don't use the pacifiers too much in my experience. When you piss a faction off, that becomes lore. That's what it is. It's lore. You know what? I wonder. I have recruitable prisoners on. And a thought just occurred to me that maybe I'll let this here Leviathan Slayer get his arms and legs eaten. Creamy, and maybe I won't kill you. Okay, all right. Okay. Well, I mean, I could go to Flats. The problem I have with going to Flats is that my Dwarven playthrough takes place near Flats Lagoon, and I kind of want to avoid the same things. So I'm thinking that if I go to the UC, two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to have several cities that I can set up my legal food operation in, and that'll be beneficial. But the other thing is that I want to have an area where there's a risk of being caught, right? Like that's part of the fun. I got to have the tax man there to you know, potentially give me shit. That's part of it. You got to have the tax man there to give you shit. Because that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun. It's not fun if there's no risk. Who does drugs for anything other than the risk? Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing there. They sent one raid and damn near ended me. I'm scared and I have a good amount. I was a bad motherfucker. Yeah, no, it's oh yeah, no, it's gonna be dangerous. It's gonna be dangerous. We're gonna have to be very careful. I'm gonna be, unlike in my dwarf playthrough, I'm going to be very good friends with the mercenaries. Very good friends with the mercenaries. Any other heavies over here that I haven't looted? I think I've got most of them. Like I said, I'm just trying to get capital right now. And then I'm going to have to, I might end up looking into getting, having a mod that lets me get the peeler machine sooner, just so I can cut off the limbs of my boys. Yeah, that might be something that I end up doing. I am going to have Beep start engaging in the conflict here in a minute, because I need him to lose his limbs as well, which requires him to get his ass kicked. So I might end up doing that. Fogmen are a great way to have Beep lose limbs. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna take them off of passive, and I think it's time we go out there and let Beep get his ass beat, get his ass beeped. But we're up to 66 people. So my all-time highest number of concurrent viewers was was 78, and I would sincerely love to say that 2 days before Christmas I broke that record. That would be pretty tits. It'd be pretty cool. Pretty fucking cool. So if we can do that, that'd be cool. Obviously no obligation, but let's see if we can do it, guys. 78. If we can get to 79 people, it'll be all-time highest viewed stream that I've ever done. I am gonna put Don here on dodge. I need him to build up his dodge skill for sure. Beep, you're in the chaos. Get your ass kicked a little bit. Fight a heavy. Also build up martial arts at the same time. You know what? Actually, both of you guys get your asses over here. Get off block. We're gonna fight that prince. Hell yeah. Back up. Back up. Don, you go on block. Beep, get over here and start fighting. Again, we need to get him. There we go. There we go. Take a little bit of damage. Right leg, come on. I'm sorry, you beautiful cinnamon bun. I'm doing it because I need you to. I'm doing it for your benefit. Hell yeah. All right, right leg is down. No, stop healing him. Don't you heal him. Let him bleed. Let him bleed. It'll make him stronger in the end. Cool. Your channel is great for Kenshi content. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, any interaction with the stream helps. Like it, hype it, whatever you guys got to do. Any interaction helps, though. Helps build those numbers up. No! We kidnapped Beep. Can't allow that shit. We want Beep to get beaten up. We don't want him to get kidnapped. So we gotta toe the line. Toe the line. There's another Fog Prince around here, I'm pretty sure. Saw him a second ago. I don't know where he was, though, but I definitely saw him. At least I thought there was two. Is there another one? Wherefore art thou? Well, either way, I'll start collecting, He is shattered. Yeah, we gotta let my guys get their toughness up. I've been babying them too long. I'm just trying to be careful because, you know, obviously we're in the Fog Isles. It's very easy to get fucking nommed here and never wake up. So I gotta be careful on that. There was a Praetorian around here too. Did he? Where's he at? Did he die? If so, I'm gonna take that row. I swore there was a Praetorian around here. Where is he? Where the hell is that Praetorian? There was a Praetorian here, right? Have I lost my mind? I could have swore there was a tall boy here. Maybe he ran off. They do that sometimes. They get their arms broken and then they run off. Cowards. Cowards. Yeah, I guess not. All right, let's hope Beep gets his leg chopped off. That's the goal, right? Get Beep's leg chopped off. Gotta make him a nugget, man. He's not nuggety enough. And we're letting Don here take some beatings, too. Gotta go. You have a good night. I appreciate you stopping in. All right, we gotta back him up. Make him go passive. Put him on block. I gotta back him up. I can't risk Don getting... I can't risk Don getting killed or knocked out, because if he does, we're gonna get carried off. We're gonna get carried off. Shit, come on, man. Don, you gotta fight back, man. What are you doing? Oh my god, you fucking moke. What are you doing? Come on. We'll watch the bot. Hell yeah, dude. I appreciate it. Pop on in afterwards and finish her off. Beep, what are you up to? Have you gotten your leg chopped off yet? No, just getting beaten around. All right. Ah, damn it. Don's down. Okay. Things might have gotten a wee bit hairy for us. Wow, dude, Beep is still kicking ass from the ground. He's still kicking ass from the ground. He's fighting, man. My mercenaries are fighting. The problem with the Fog Islands, too, is that when... ooh, that's not good. Oh, shit. Bad things have happened here. Recovery, Kuma. Because he ain't got that toughness. Don't think he's going to bleed out, though, so I think we should be fine in that regard. Fingers crossed. Our mercenaries should be able to keep us alive. We should be fine. They should protect us. I got, what is it, the Leviathan Slayers fighting Beep. The Leviathan Slayers protecting Beep, and then I've got all the mercenaries protecting Don, Tony, McChicken. Downside is they're fucking unconscious. So, fingers crossed that our boys can get up in time. I'm probably gonna let Beep get beat up a little bit more, get beeped up a bit more, but you know, Don, Tony, McChicken here needs to get his ass up. He needs to get up. He's taking a nap. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable, deplorable behavior. You're supposed to be a Don, for Christ's sakes. Come on. What are you doing? Now we just wait. Now we wait. Upside is when we're done, there's a shit ton of bodies that we can loot. Ooh, boy. We're going to have so much money, which is good because it's going to fund us getting out of here, too. That's the other thing, too, is we have to build up athletics and toughness to even get the hell out of here. You know. A lot of corpses. A lot of corpses. This is always the great part. When you have unconscious people on stream and you can't do anything. We're just sitting here on 3 times speed, just waiting. We're just waiting. Well, if anybody has any more lore questions, now is a great time to ask, because I'm quite literally incapable of doing anything for a couple of minutes. Oof. On the upside, Down's legs are good, so once he's up and moving, he actually should be pretty fine. And then I can collect all the loot from this this fight, because ton of Fog Princes showed up in this. Ton of Fog Princes. I think there's at least 3 or 4 that we can run over to and loot. Good number of them. Don, how you doing? Ah, yes. Why do you think firearms never became a thing, or they lost tech? Okay, so I've gotten this question before too. All right, so think about the technological tree in Kenshi, like Fallout. The way that I see it, when you look at all of the technology that the First Empire had, it's evident they were very industrialized. They were using things like nuclear energy, which I can prove that too if you guys want me to pull up the stuff that I have on that. They were using things like nuclear energy. They were using things like fission and things along those lines, right? And they had great devices that were capable of terraforming planets. Those were what the eye satellites were for. They would burn away swaths of incompatible ground, make the ground fertile for plant life to develop, and then they would, use the now fertile ground for agriculture, and they'd use it for, My dog is freaking out back there. They'd use it for agriculture. They'd use the land for planting trees and stuff to make the atmosphere habitable, and they'd use stuff like, so the eye satellites were for terraforming. And a lot of their technology was based around space travel and industry and stuff like that. But there's only signs of industry. If you look at their technological prowess, it's only signs of industry. And what that tells me is that they were not a military society, or they, at least the branch of the society that was on Kenshi, because they probably were part of a larger empire, was not a militant society. And so the way that I see it is that either they came here with the intention of being non-militarized, right? They built the behemoths for the sake of fighting off the native inhabitants, but the behemoths are just larger versions of their subservient workforce that is the skeletons, right? And so when you look at it from that regards, even the behemoths aren't really a military byproduct. And so the reason why I bring all this up is because I think that the technological trees on Kenshi formed in a way similar to Fallout. So either they were sent here without the purpose of like militarization, right? They didn't need any weapons or anything like that. Or the alternative, and the one that I think that is more likely, is the faction that was on Kenshi of the First Empire had a technological break similar to that of Fallout. So in Fallout, the technological and historical advancements in Fallout were very similar to, and we know that they use Fallout, by the way, for a lot of inspiration for Kenshi, because all of Shark and the way that the government and Shark and the mob families is a reference to Fallout New Vegas. It's all directly referenced to Fallout New Vegas. The mob families, the strip, the way it runs, all the gambling, all that stuff. The casinos, it's all a reference to Fallout New Vegas. But so I think that the technology was similar to ours. And then in Fallout, in the 50s, after World War II happened, we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There was a break in the technological advance, the trees, it diverged in the way that society like evolved. So in Fallout, they moved into the nuclear age, right? And they started working with things like fusion and fusion-powered and nuclear-powered cars and computers. But you'll notice that their computers and stuff like that are a lot less sophisticated than ours, even though they have effectively unlimited energy, right? So in some ways, the Fallout universe has more advanced technology. In other ways, the technology is far simpler than our own, and it's because it diverged into two different paths. Fallout, they went the way of the nuclear power, and in our real world, we went to the digital age instead of the nuclear age. And so our technological trees dispersed. And in the same way, I think that Kenshi's technological tree for the First Empire was that they were not a militarized society. And so they developed great advancements of technology, but they weren't for military purposes. They weren't for fighting. They weren't for war, right? They were not a militarized society, which is also probably why they lost to the skeletons so quickly and so single-handedly, because they weren't here to fight. They weren't ready to fight. They weren't equipped to fight. And so their technology is really advanced, but it's really advanced industry. They didn't need gunpowder. They didn't need missiles and stuff like that, because they weren't, unless it was directly related to terraforming an industry. Their technology simply evolved to be more based around industry and stuff like that, which is why you don't see guns. I don't think guns were invented because they were not part of the technological tree, like the technological progression for the First Empire. The First Empire was a society that was heavily focused on industry, not military, and so they did not develop firearms because they just weren't what they were focused on. That's not how their technology progressed. That's the in-lore explanation. The out-of-lore explanation is that Chris thinks guns would make the game boring. And he's right, because it would really simplify things. And it would take away from the portion of Kenshi that everyone really, loves, which is the up close and personal sword play, the high tech dystopian sci-fi desert punk swordplay. Now, we do know in Kenshi 2 that ranged weapons will have more focus. They're not going to be the main meta. Swordplay will still be the main meta. It will still be the primary source of combat. But ranged weapons are getting a rework and an overhaul. So I think we're going to see much more sophisticated things. We might see we're going to see retcons occur. So we might see simple guns. But I doubt it. I think what we're going to see instead is going to be like more sophisticated crossbows and like stuff like that. Or like single shot guns if there are guns, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be just more sophisticated crossbows. And I think that in addition to that, we're going to see things like a cover system to make range combat more viable long term. Hopefully improvements to the AI so your guys don't fucking shoot your own people in the back. Excuse me. Yeah, so it's one of those things. One of those things. The lore weaves together in such an awesome story. I love the way they did it. You really put it well in your videos. That's where it's all linear, I guess would be the word. Yeah. No, listen, I love the occasional root and shooty point and shooty. I'm totally for it. I agree with you. I think it's cool. I think having basic guns would be cool. I think things like flintlocks would be really cool, right? Like single shot pistols that you have to reload after every shot. But I really like the idea of a character that like has a long sword and like full on pirate style, man. Like you can whip out your single shot, fire 2 shots before the enemy gets close, and then you whip out your sword and go slashy and start doing that kind of stuff. I like the idea of like flintlocks and like single shot weapons and things like that. Muskets with bayonets where they get up close. You can fire off your gun and then they get up close and then you start using the bayonet on the musket as your melee weapon. I think that kind of stuff could be cool. But yeah, high damage, but it takes you 10-15 seconds to reload. And it's also really inaccurate, especially early on. You have to train accuracy and all that stuff. The weapons are expensive. The ammunition's expensive. So there's ways you can go about it, but that's my answer in lore anyway as to why there's not guns. Out of lore, it was because Chris thought that guns would detract from the dystopian desert punk style gameplay that he wanted from Kenshi. So what are you? Praetorian dead. Row, what a find. That's 9,600 cats just laying around. Oh my God. I'm sorry I keep itching my nose, guys. I have this thing. So I get really anxious on stream. I do it because I really enjoy it, but I get really anxious. And when I get anxious, my nose itches so bad. It's literally just a byproduct of my fucking nerves. I get so anxious when I'm on stream. Just because I know that I'm being watched, It's a bit nerve-wracking. But it's really annoying. It's like when I was a kid, I used to I remember one year I was my school was hosting a Christmas concert like they did every year, and I had gotten casted in the Christmas concert. I think this was like the 4th grade, right? It was mandatory. I didn't have a choice. They weren't like, "Do you want to be in the concert?" I didn't even want to go, but I got mandatorily forced into the concert. And so I had a part, right? And I remember during the performance I was fine. And then afterwards, when they were wrapping up and they were doing all the songs and stuff like that, I was up on like the bleachers or the choirs or the stage or whatever it is, and the entire time I'm just itching my neck because I was so itchy because I was being watched. It's not even stage fright, which is really annoying. I'm not like actually anxious or nervous, but my body, when I know I'm being watched by a lot of people, gets itchy, really itchy. So super annoying. But on stream, I've noticed that like I go like this a lot and like I mess with my nose a lot. And it's because of that. My nose gets itchy when I'm streaming because I'm fucking subconsciously stressed out. All right. How are we doing? How's the stream doing? How are we doing for like 63 people in the stream? Not bad. 24 likes. Guys, win. It's winning. We're winning. We're winning. This is huge. This is great. Wonderful turnout. You're all great people. You're wonderful people. Awesome people. Because of you, Don Tony McChicken, he's gonna build a wall.
Keep the Fogmen out. Because you're wonderful people. Every one of you, great people.
Gotta heal Don Tony McChicken. He looks like shit right now. Gotta heal up his leg. I can honestly, I should probably get him better legs. I'm gonna keep the legs that I have in my backpack for when Beep finally gets his legs ripped off, because that's the goal, but I should probably get him better legs. The real question is, do I stick with the scout legs to increase athletics, or do I... Yeah, we'll stick with the scout legs. But I'm going to hang on to these two because obviously we want to keep some on hand for when we need to give them to Beep. And the specialist legs. Hell yeah. Nice. Nice. Thanks. My wife hates my Trump impression. It's literally her least favorite thing that I do, like impression that I do, but I do it all the time because I think it's fucking hilarious. I've worked in like white collar positions where they've had me I've worked in white collar positions for many years. Or I did. It complicated. Anyway, the point is I worked in like high profile positions for several years, and I had like CEOs of like $400 or $500 million companies asking me to do my Trump voice at like company dinners and shit like that. Because they thought it was really funny. I love my Trump impression, but my wife hates it. Absolutely hates it.
We've got to protect ourselves. Protect American infrastructure from the foes of foreign relations that want to take our jobs and take our women. We have great women here. Great women. Best women. All wonderful people, the women. And they want to take our jobs. They want to take our people. We gotta protect ourselves against the China virus, okay? Because they're coming. The Chinas, they're coming. They've been going pee-pee in our Coke for years, and now they want our women.
Ridiculous, man. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny.
So I'm gonna build a wall. Build a wall between us and Mordor.
All right. We financially we're not in a bad spot right now. I'm really just trying to get our athletics, churned up a bit, and get Beep's legs chopped off.
The Fogmen, we're gonna make them pay for the wall. We're gonna build a wall, okay, in the Fog Islands between Mongrel and the rest of civilized society. Because the people of Mongrel, they're great people. And they're dying. And I'd like them to stop dying. They're dying, the people of Mongrel. Great people. And we're going to build a wall. And we're going to make the Fogmen pay for it. Because a lot of limbs are being removed by the people of the Fog that are coming in over that border. Crossing that wall without the proper paperwork or sanity. And it's not great. They're hurting the powerful people, the good people. Ark, he's a good man. Great person.
So funny. All right, I'm done. I won't do any more Trump though. I'm gonna overuse it, and people are gonna get mad. All right. We'll take the opportunity, get more of this shite. I don't want. Where's my? Okay, I got mercs. I got mercs. We can handle it. I'm going to put Don to block because I don't want him necessarily participating in the fight. And I want them to kind of leave him alone because I want Beep to get beat up. One, because I need Beep to have more toughness, but also because I need his legs to get ripped off. That's the end goal. We need Beep to be limbless. Limbless Beep. Beep, I said legs. I mean, if you lose your arms, it's cool, but I'm leaning more towards legs at first so we can up your speed. Okay, that's a head. I don't need head damage. I need leg damage. Arm damage. Although it is training martial arts too. There. Yeah, literally, just lose something. Lose something, Beep. Hell yeah. I always get nervous when he takes damage to the chest. That's my fear, is that he's going to take too much chest damage every fucking time. All right, Beep, get up. Get up. You know what? You know what? Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. This is a real risky fucking move. And just like with the dwarves, I'm doing a no save scum run. So like if this goes south, I'm so sorry, but we might lose Beep. But I need Beep's gonna get on the pole. The first thing I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna have Don run back at full speed to grab a to grab a first aid kit. So Don, you sprint back full speed. Beep, your ass is getting on the pole. You're gonna let some of these fogmen. You're gonna let them come up. And they're going to nibble on your Legos. They're going to Lego your Egos. And you're going to let them do it. And I'm going to heal you up because I'm a nice guy. And that's going to be that. Ooh, I need this because I want it. I need to have an identifiable, uniformable mask for my leader, Don Tony McChin. Ooh, Dark Tart Red. That'll improve my martial arts. Hell yeah, dude. I'm glad I came back. Hell yeah. Raider rags. The difference between the two. Can I see a visible difference? And then Raider rags. Oh, they're just a little bit like looser. I like the yeah, how do these do for anything good? No? No? No. 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 Okay. Nothing you have is gonna help me. Time is it's 5 a.m., so none of the shops are open. I hope that the other vendor maybe has a first aid kit. Plastic surgeon, that's not who I need. Where is the other trader? Where the hell is the other Shinobi trader? Oh, he's right there. Trade, do you have a first aid kit? You do not. Of course you don't. Why would you? That'd be too fucking easy, wouldn't it? That would be too fucking easy, wouldn't it? Shit. Okay. Well, Beep, hold your own for now, I guess. We're gonna see what happens. Beep does have protection down here, I think. Or is he just standing alone? Yeah, he's got he who protects. He's down here, and yeah, the Leviathan Slayers will probably keep alive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put him on the pole, and I'm going to let him get his legs chewed off, and then I'm gonna immediately pick him up after his legs are chewed off, and I'm gonna run out of there. But I need a first aid kit because the one that I have is pooey, and it's not going to help me heal him before he bleeds out. You know, when he gets his his legs and stuff chewed off, because I got to keep him from bleeding out. That's the balancing act that we're running here. But the shops don't open until 6 o'clock, which is now 6 o'clock. Get over here. Apologies if you guys hear my floor creaking above me. And there's no health in here. God damn it. Where's the travel shop at? Ranger shop? Is there a certain amount of people I should have before building a base? I mean, you can build a base whenever you want. You're just not going to be able to defend it very well. And depending on what enemies come after you, you're going to lose. Like, they may actually take your base. So, yeah, and it also depends where you're building. Like, that's the other thing. Boot shop? I don't fucking need a boot shop. I'm going to go there and see what they got, but I don't think I need boots. Oh, you guys boot? Yeah! Health stuff. Woo. Excuse me. God damn it. All right. Beep, get out here. You. Yeah, Don, you get over here. You bring. God damn it, Beep. Don's got those good legs. He's moving at a good speed. He's a little over encumbered, but he's moving at a good speed. Oh, was Beep being eaten? No, Beep wasn't being eaten. We gotta fix that shit. Where Where's a pole that I can post him up on? There's one right here. Oh no, I need you to pick the lock first. There we go. And then I'm going to pick the lock ahead of time. God damn it. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Don, you really got to work on your dodge, man. Hell yeah. Okay. Now, we need to pick the prisoner lock ahead of time. So that way, when we need to, we can just pick Beep up. Just pick him right up. And then this mercenary, to be honest with you, I'm gonna do something kind of scoomy. Can I steal from him without an issue? Is he awake right now? Yeah, he's awake. Because I have the recruitable prisoners mod on, and I'm halfway like, shit, do I maybe like recruit this guy too, and then let him get his legs eaten as well, and then I have soldier bots? I have a soldier drone with decent stats. We'll see. All right, so now we play the waiting game. Don, Tony McChicken, you're going to step off to the side a little bit. Step off to the side. Guys, they're over here praying. God fucking damn it. No, 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 stop it. Stop it. Gotta build up my dodge. Not working. I'm not here to fight. Oh, they're all watching that dude get grinded up. Cool. I say I'm not here to fight, but the only reason they keep attacking me is because I am trying to train on... Oh, no. Okay, it's happening. It's happening. Beep's being eaten. All right, Don, you need to back over here and you need to heal yourself up, firstly. Okay, and you need to get ready because it's going down. It's going down. The pole is locked, which is good. We need to watch Beep's stats very, very carefully. Okay, so right leg is bleeding out. No pain. Beep doesn't yell. Beep's not a yeller. He's good to go. We're gonna stand here. We're gonna hold. We're gonna let this happen. We're gonna watch as poor Beep is devoured alive. But it's okay. It will work out in the long run. I do this because I love you, buddy. I do this because I love you. I promise. 72 concurrent viewers, guys. We are only 7 viewers away from our all-time highest number of people, concurrent stream viewers. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. If we hit 79, that's our highest number of concurrent viewers. Did not expect this on the 23rd of December, right before Christmas Eve. Crazy stuff, guys. All right, all right. It's going to happen soon. I'm so nervous right now because if I misstep even a little bit, we could lose Beep. This run could be over. All right, we're about to lose the other leg. Nope. We gotta pick Beep up, and we gotta get the hell out of Dodge. Get out of here. Oh my God, it's disturbing. Wait, who's that? Okay, so he's being eaten. We still may not get out of this. I mean, we're not looking great right now. The mercenaries have been thoroughly fucked up. Where are the others that are supposed to be defending us? Not defending us. That's what they're doing. And surprisingly, I haven't seen any fucking Dawn Guard around here, which is not good. They're supposed to be around, but I haven't seen any Dawn Guard around here. Beep's leg is still bleeding out, which is good because he'll continue to bleed out while we're running, but I need to be able to get... Oh, no, no! Oh, no. Oh, no. Oof. I'm in deep. This is really bad. Really bad. We gotta move. Who's he fighting? What's his... Okay, so he's up and moving. Beep is unconscious and crippled. I gotta bring Don up. It's the only way. The only chance Beep has is if Don can get away and repair himself. It's the only chance Beep has. The Leviathan Slayers are here. That's good. That's good. Beep is still bleeding out. He might lose the other leg, which is also good. Oh yeah, this is going to be a tough one. The Mongrel Shinobi Guard should clear my way. Beep is still bleeding. We might lose Beep. We might lose Beep. He might bleed out. If he gets to negative, I think 50 health, he bleeds out. Yeah, that's too much bleeding. I think, guys, I think we might lose Beep. Oh, no. I don't think he will. I think he's going to get to negative. Yeah, he's going to bleed out. We lost Beep. Oh, no. I'm devastated. I'm truly devastated, and I can't reload it because again, it's a no save scum. Oh my god, I'm devastated. My body, my soul. Oh sure, now you stand up, you bastard. Press F in chat. We lost Beep. Oh god. Can I get Fs in the chat? Everybody press F in the chat. I need as many Fs as possible, my lord. I'm devastated. Truly devastated. This is the catalyst right here. This is the event that made Don Tony McChicken Don Tony McChicken. This is the event. This was his canon event. Oy vey, I'm gonna get my boy into the repair bed, and then I gotta let my dog out of my office because she wants to go to bed. Oof. Yeah. Oy. See, this is the thing. We thought it was going well. We thought that this we thought that it was going well, and that the playthrough maybe it was a little too easy. Maybe we took it for granted, you know. But I think this is the canon event right here. I think this is what makes Don Tony McChicken into Don Tony McChicken. Awful. And you know what? I think because of that, I'm gonna need to alter a few things. Oh no, I didn't mean that. Shit, I didn't mean to talk to the plastic surgeon. I was trying to talk to the trader. Oh, they're both plastic surgeons. That's why I got confused. I have a Beep statue mod, and I will, when we build our main outpost where the hashish production will happen, there will be a statue in honor of our fallen comrade. We thought that it was going well, and we were wrong. Okay, changes are going to be made in lieu of the circumstances. There's a particular armor set that I'm going to get, and We're gonna make Don Tony McChicken into a unit with the money that we have. Things, as Beep would say, there will be changes. There will be changes. Originally, I was going to run him as a martial artist, but now after this, I think I'm going to give him the Ghost of Tsushima treatment, and I have the perfect armor attire for it. But this was Don's canon event. It had to happen. He had to experience the pain of loss. The fucked up part is Beep was our most skilled warrior too. Yeah, he had to experience loss. That's what it was. It was all part of the process. Hat on. Good. Good, good, good. And then there's a particular armor set that I want to get that I think is going to be perfect for this. He's not just going to be the Don, he's going to be the demon Don McChicken. Better one? There it is. There's a high grade. 1,000, perfect. And then high grade cloth pants. Specialist grade cloth pants, only 6,000. I'll take it. All right, this is our new Don. This is the head of our faction. He's gone the way of the way of the Ghost of Tsushima. He is the demon, the Don, the head of our faction, and I'm gonna give him. Yeah, he's a beast, and we're about to make him even more of a beast. His canon event changed him. You know, he studied the way of the fist, and now he studies the way of the blade.
Well, you were out there getting laid. I was here studying the way of the blade.
All right. Need some good katanas. I'm thinking katana, something sharp that'll really just remove the limbs from his enemies. He's the head of the Nugget Mafia. And actually, you know what? You know what? No, I have an even better idea. I continue to have even better ideas. I'm going to give this man, this absolute unit, dual size. No, dual Tontos. But then he can't have his mask. That's okay. We'll keep that. All right. The Don, he wears his hat. He fights with dual Tontos. Okay, he's a martial artist that fights with dual knives. Beautiful. Got his Ronin armor. He looks good. He's a beast, an absolute beast, a unit, and that will all but negate the equipment penalty that we have. Is it an equipment or an encumbrance penalty? Oh, it's a. Oh yeah, no, we're good on that. Combat skills -2. Why do they go up? Oh, because it decreases my encumbrance. I see. All right. Yeah. He is the man. He is the one, the only, the legend. Don Tony McChicken. We need to work on his goddamn dodge, though. That's the other thing. His dodge is terrible. He can actually fight pretty well. He hits pretty hard, but his fucking dodge is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, his dodge is absolutely terrible. We gotta work on that shit. I can't put the mask in there. That sucks. The Visage of Narco. That's cool. Cool mask name. Cool mask name. Yeah, I guess we'll stick with what we got then. Yeah, we'll run with just a hat. Still, the armor's pretty fire though. Scary dude. Scary dude. Yeah, we need to get this man. We need to get his dodge up for sure. Well, I'm gonna have to hire more mercenaries to defend me because I can't damn well run the risk of getting killed out there. More mercenaries in here. Rumble John, Infinite Wing Wang. lot of people in here that we can recruit, which we probably will end up recruiting at some point. But at current, our main priority is getting Don outfitted and ready for combat. I need to have him finish healing too. Leg is in bad shape. Get this man finished up. Oy vey, oy vey vey. Not great, not great. What a devastating encounter. I can't believe we lost Beep. That's horrifying. The poor boy bled out. That's so messed up. So messed up. That leg healed up. All right, well, we are approaching the midnight hour. It's about 3.5 hours in. Yeah, we're sitting at 68 concurrent viewers. I'm gonna do one more, just kind of quick run through, let everybody know in case anybody has recently come in. If you guys are enjoying the content, you guys want to help support the channel and help me continue to do these things, because one day I'd like to do this full time. I'd like to make this my full-time job and just stream with you guys and hang out and make Kenshi content and lore videos and all that stuff. But if you want to help support the channel in a more personal way, I do have a channel membership. It is only $2.99 a month, and it gives you guys access to a special Discord for channel members only. Inside this Discord, you have access to other YouTubers that do Kenshi content. Pay2Strophe is in there. Muffin Top is in there. I got to talk to Frank. He was here and see if he wants to hop in as well. I've got some bigger people that I'm talking to that I won't name quite yet, but I've got some really large content creators as well. I want to create a space that my community can really interact with other content creators. We also do giveaways for fun stuff. We do unique community polls. You get sneak peeks of all my videos, and you just get to talk and hang out and play games with me as well. Talk about Kenshi lore, share screenshots. I share a lot of food in the Discord as well. Like I do a lot of cooking, and so I share a lot of pictures of like my food and shit like that, because I consider myself to be pretty good cook. But it's a good community. We got some good stuff going on. And so if you want access to the Discord, become a channel member. Again, it's $2.99. Help support the channel. You also get access to a special badge in chat that changes depending on how long you've been a channel member. And then lastly, in addition to all of that, you get a shout out at the beginning of all of my long form videos. So you get a lot of bang for your buck for that $2.99. And again, it helps support the channel and keeps helps me continue making content and hopefully one day make content full time. Poor Beep, man. Poor Beep. All these mercenaries got their asses kicked too. My God, did they end up like stringing Beep up on a pole or something, or did he just despawn? I think he probably despawned. Oy vey. Well, on the upside, Don is fast as hell now too. We don't have to worry about that. Doom guy lost his rabbit. Don lost his beep. Literally, Don lost his beep. That's why all this happened. He what was what was it all for? What was it all for? Don lost his beep. Don lost his beep. Leviathan Slayers, I'm gonna hire you guys for the third fucking time. All right, well, Don has lost his beep, but he's outfitted. He just had his canon event, his Ghost of Tsushima arc. He realized that the traditional ways are not enough, and now he has embraced the darker aspects of things. He's going to become essentially Kenshi Batman, except with drugs, so not Kenshi Batman. But with all that being said, guys, it is now midnight. It is officially Christmas Eve where I'm at. I'm pooped. I have to get up really fucking early, because I gotta pack the kids up, and we're gonna go to my grandmother's house and have a good time over there. But let the kids get their loot and hang out with the family. But that requires me to get up early because we're doing brunch. So, with all that being said, guys, I do appreciate you all spending the time with me tonight. Again, I was not expecting such a massive turnout on stream tonight. Absolutely huge. Thank you guys so much for coming. Hope you guys enjoyed your time here. listen to me, prattle on about lore and all that stuff. If you guys, I'll be streaming again. I believe the next day that I'm streaming I have it scheduled for Saturday the 27th, and I might do one on Friday. I don't really know what I'm going on, but right now, I plan on streaming again on Saturday. I'm gonna be doing Kenshi Rise of the Dwarves, so everybody look forward to that. If you guys have tuned into the Dwarves before, if you guys have not tuned into the Dwarves, I do recommend. I'm 15 episodes in. We have a lot of lads, and we're about to go to war with the Tech Hunters. So we're going to be sieging Flatch Lagoon hopefully next episode. So we got a lot of good stuff planned for that. But I do appreciate you guys choosing to spend the time with me here today. Really great turnout. Again, 73 people. Huge turnout. Fantastic. Yeah, that's all I got. So as always, remember to use your powers for good instead of evil. Make a difference in someone's life. And don't play with fate when it comes to beep. You will lose, and then you will be devastated for it. Really sad stuff. My Christmas wish is that I get beep pap. All right, guys. Have a good night. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thank you again.